Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gfinity Arena here in London for the semi-finals of the DiRT World Championships. A couple of weeks ago, we had our quarter-finals, and now we have 6 players from every single console battling it out for a place in our grand final. My name is Mark Hatcher. I'm going to be hosting the desk today, but I cannot do it alone. As always, I have 2 of my favourite human beings. Of course, we have Andrew Coley and Luke Crane. Andrew, firstly, how are you, buddy? What have you been up to?
Favourite human being? I've been upgraded. I think that's very, very kind.
We got to know each other pretty well.
It was a long show last time.
Favourite humans, how well?
It was a long show. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. We've had the first round of the World Rallycross Championship last weekend in real life, which was amazing. So, I'm sure I'll have a time for a bit of a chat about that later on. And I've been watching the London Marathon today here in lovely, sunny London. People doing a lot more exercise than myself.
I was going to say, you can see a bit of colour in your face. You're looking very healthy. Speaking of colour, of course, we have Luke Crane at the end. Talk us through that shirt selection, because that's definitely brought some excitement to the broadcast today.
There's someone running around London now without their blouse. That's one thing that's happened today. And they were fast to catch as well. But yeah, thought I'd make an effort today for the semi-finals.
Yeah, you're looking good. Are you looking good? I feel a little bit underdressed now, but you know, I'm impressed with what you brought to the table today. But let's have a quick look at the overview of the championship today and see exactly what's going to be going on. Of course, we have our semi-finals today. 2 drivers will be moving forward from every single platform, from the PC, from the Xbox, and from the PlayStation 4 into our grand finals, which will, of course, be held at the Speedmachine Festival at Silverstone. And, gentlemen, we're getting close now, aren't we? It's getting very exciting. We're getting close. We've got these last few drivers who are going to be battling it out for those spots. I mean, what are you looking forward to today? Anything in particular?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the heightened level. You know, the nature of this competition is that we have a great number of people enter. A certain number make it through to the quarterfinals. I thought the level there was pretty good, but there was some outrageously good people on the 2 gaming platforms, in particular Xbox and PS4, and then PC. Wow, you know, the level's really high there. So it's going to get really, really hard now, I think.
It's going to get tasty, yeah. So with the format we have here, the top 6 we're always going to qualify. We're going to be the best 6 from the 12 we had originally. So it's mouthwatering for me. I'm really, really excited for this.
Yeah, I'm pumped for this. Well, let's have a little reminder of exactly some of the action that went down in our quarterfinals. Starting off by having a look at the Xbox. And as you say, gentlemen, some standout drivers here that sort of separated themselves from the field. But the action, I mean, it was powerful.
Yeah, it was great. Interestingly, we're going to different tracks this time. We're using different vehicles. Of course, the rally stages are different specifications as well. So, you know, we can expect more of the same. It was particularly fun, wasn't it, in Norway, I think, Luke? You know, we saw some great overtaking there.
Oh, wow, yeah, that move where you got not overly excited, I guess.
That's the job.
Jumping up, banging the table is incredible.
But there is our quarterfinal leaderboard. As you can see there, our top 6 drivers who will be joining us today for the semi-finals. Incredibly close between that 6th and 7th place, and it was very exciting as the stages went on and as the races went on to see exactly where everything ended up, essentially. And I think it came down to the last Rallycross, didn't it, on the Xbox before we actually had our decisions made.
We had no idea. We were excited. We were like, there's like potentially 8 people could be in, you know, qualifying for the top 6, and we were just like, oh my God, what's going on? It was pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, very excited about today.
Well, let's have a look at the format for today and our semi-finals. See exactly how the PCs are going to work. We're going to start off today with a stage of a rally. Then we move across to the Rallycross. We'll have 6 laps of action. Then we move back to another stage of rally, and we finish off with the final Rallycross race of the day. 6 laps there as well. Of course, it's only going to be 6 players in our semi-finals today, so it's going to be all to play for here, gentlemen, and a slight change in the format for what we saw last time, so it's going to make for some very exciting racing today.
Yeah, definitely. So before we had both the rally stages first of all, and those were, your time was added up between them. Today the rally stages are separate. We're going to be looking at 6 points each for each of the rally stages and each of the rallycross races. So yeah, I think it's going to change the way the game is played.
And the exciting thing, of course, all of these players are playing for one thing, and that is a spot at our grand finals, which will be held at the Speedmachine Festival. So let's have a quick look and take a look at the festival. As you can see there, lots of action going to be happening at the Speedmachine Festival, and as it popped up at the end there, esports, we're going to be involved. Of course, the DiRT World Championship finals will be held there. Get your tickets at speedmachine.com, and of course, you can save £20, which is always good to have in the back pocket at festivals such. What would you do with that, Luke?
Beer. Clearly.
beer,
Yeah.
beer, and Andrew, food.
Food.
Food. There we go. So that's exactly what these guys are spending it on. But of course, these guys are playing for a chance to actually have an experience in one of those rallycross cars and get round that track. Something I know you yourself have obviously been a part of doing before, and you can sort of explain how exciting that must be for some of these players who are involved.
Oh, it's going to be incredible. You know, we're talking about the step up from the gaming world to the real world. We're talking about a real rallycross car at Silverstone in front of a world championship crowd. You know, as prizes go, I don't think it gets much better than that.
And a reminder, you don't have your driving license, Luke, but it's something you
Let's
definitely
keep
like.
bringing that up.
Yeah, well,
Let's keep bringing that
Look,
up.
Just a reminder, but there's something that obviously you'd love to have the opportunity to do.
Yeah, well, I might try and hijack the situation there and get myself involved in that. But like I said last time, these guys obviously have the dream of driving the real racing cars, and you know the dream's going to become a reality for one of these guys.
I really want to see you in a rallycross car. I don't,
So there's a little bit of me that
especially
means-
in
In
that
RX2, I'll look like Donkey Kong.
especially in that shirt. But we're actually getting pretty close to our first stage of rally action today. We're going over to Australia, gentlemen. So what can you tell us about this track? What can we expect?
So this one's a little bit longer. We're looking at a 70% length of stage. So if you're familiar with the platform, you can make your own stages within DiRT4, and so you can select the length and then you can select the complexity. So the first one is 70% in terms of length, but then we're looking at 50% in terms of complexity. Actually, you can see on your screens now, so around 5.9 miles, I think it said. I find the Australian stage is pretty okay to drive. There's a few pace notes in there which I think you really need to keep your eye out for. Luke, if you've been a regular player of the game, you know there's one or two sneaky ones.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely my favourite out of all the venues you can do the rally on DiRT4. But there are some sneaky rocks on corners where, when it says don't cut, you cannot cut.
And any drivers you're going to be looking out for in particular? Obviously, we're getting down to the creme now of the drivers that we have on these platforms. These are arguably the 6 best drivers in the world on each platform right now. Anyone that's jumping out for you? I know you had your favourites last week, and I know there's one player in particular you got your eye on.
Well, of course, 60th Yard for me was the star of the show last week. And then we've got Davey M as well, who's actually joined my team, which is always good to have involved. But I'm going to look out for Kamikaze today. Slowly made his way through. We didn't think he was going to qualify. And normally the slow burners are the guys to really watch out for.
Well, it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to getting into this one. It looks like the first stage of the rally is about to get underway. So, gentlemen, I know you're excited for this one. Over to you.
We are indeed. Looking at that, I think it's GTR Quinton who we're riding on board with this time. We've got a little look at the liveries in front of us, so hopefully we can keep you up to speed a little bit more with who is doing what. So into the first stage. Pretty typical Australia, obviously the banks at the side of the road. The note which I always, of course you guys aren't hearing the notes, but the note which you have to watch out for is the 5 right, I think it is over a crest, and it's always tighter than it looks. These ones as well, this next right-hander coming up, this will be a tighter one, and again you can see the road drops away at the side. Luke, very easy here as well to tap one of those fence posts, and in fact that can then fling the front end back out into the fence, and you really lose a lot of time.
Yeah, it can sometimes be game over in that respect. You can see he, at the start of this stage, well, lovely hairpin there by Kicked in the Yo now we're on board with. You can see on the corners, you can almost use the camber to your advantage. It turns the car in for you yourself there. So again, it's high risk, high reward. But now we've got some crest here. This is a big crest coming up at the end of this straight. And Kicked in the Yo looking pretty strong right now. And it's got in there nice and deep, which is really, really good up the top of the hill. Keeping the power down. We'll lose the rear just slightly there.
So the other feature of Australia, there's two very distinct types of terrain, aren't there? This is what I would call the open section of the stages, and then you get sections which are through the trees, which we may well get later on. Now, for me, you can make up a lot of time in there because it gets much more technical. You're looking at a lot of 2s and 3s, and you're looking at quite a few places where you can cut, whereas these roads here, Luke, the cuts are just not available in the same way, and also, say, penalty for running wide is a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, obviously you can see that bank on the right-hand side, and if you collect that, you know, whether it be the front or if you lose it on the exit of the corner and it's your rear, you're more than likely going to end up facing the wrong way, and that's probably the biggest penalty of all.
We're going to be able to have a look, I think, at 2 of our competitors side by side. We can indeed. So on the left-hand side of your screen, Kicked in Yo. On the right-hand side, 60th yard. So pretty close together. 60th yard edging this, I'd say, by just a few yards. On the right-hand side of your screen. So that gives you a good idea. And look, this is what we saw last time between some of our competitors, but I'm expecting now at the semi-final stage to see this between more of our competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the field is a little bit sporadic on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see the names above each other there. It looks like a big mistake's happened there for, I can't quite grasp whose name that is. But we are expecting it to be a lot closer today with the top 6 from each platform. especially on PC. But right now, you can see here that 60th yard has taken where he left off last time.
We're hearing this Kamikaze who's dropped out of the back a little way, so it's a mistake for them. You'll have to forgive us, the monitor's too far away for our old eyes to be able to read the letters on the side. You can probably see that at home where we can't, so that's just why we're seeing a big screen here in the studio. So just a heads up for you as well on the format. As we said last time, it was 2 stages together. So if you made a mistake on one stage, the times were added up together, and that was how the point scoring was done. Now here, look, this time we've got 2 individual stages. So, okay, Kamikaze here quite clearly is going to come out of this with 1 point, which is a disaster. But if the 2 stages were added together, on a roll now, kicked in the yo over while we're on board, but lucky to get away with it.
60th yard's taking the lead now. Kiknio was leading this stage as well.
Not lost too much time though. Look at the ladder on the left-hand side. Really lucky to get away with that, and that was what we talked about last time. A roll onto all 4 wheels is what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. That's he could have just been on his side or on his roof there, and he's kind of got away with it. Probably lost 5-6 seconds, I would say. But yeah, that's it. You know, high risk, high reward of these situations. And as you were just talking about the format today, these guys, there's not 2 lobbies anymore. There's only 6 people. So if these guys do make a big mistake, they have not got a lot of time to get over that.
Kamikaze's withdrawn from this, we can see, not moving now. And we know there's a minute timer, as there is in a lot of the game, where if you're more than a minute off the back of a live race, then basically you end up getting pulled from it. So I think a stop there to gather himself back together, to get himself ready for stage 2. And again, this is what we're saying. So he could, in theory, now come back for stage 2. If this was the quarterfinals, it's game over. He's going to get 1 point from the rally section entirely. Now, okay, he's going to get 1 here, but he could well come back and take 6 in the next stage.
Absolutely, yeah. The format does promote the best of the best getting through here, so it's not all lost here for Kamikaze, and I think you're right, he may have just taken a step back there and just thought, you know what, I'm going to gather my thoughts and worry about the next stage here. But as you can see, 60th yard is in the lead. We're on board here with Kiknio, who is in 2nd spot. Davey M currently in 3rd, and then we've got Quentin in 4th position. I think that's Nicky L in 5th spot right now.
Kiknio sideways, very sideways, not super tidy in here, but still seemingly on the pace and off the side of the road now. Back on again, but those guys, in terms of pace, they look to have just slightly, Luke.
Yeah, yard, but he's made 2 really big mistakes there. So going into the next rally, if he can make no mistakes, I think he potentially could be the quickest guy here.
Well, not too far to go now on this one. Over the crest to the right, look for the finish line, which of course is the 2 red circles, as it is in go.
Take the maximum points here with was that kicked in the yo in 2nd spot. Davey M fighting it out now with Quentin. I think Davey M is going to cross the line in 3rd, Quentin 4th, and then Nicky L 555. Looks like he's going to pick up 5th position.
Nicky L 555, who we're on board with now.
Just doesn't look quite as in tune as the front 2 guys we've been watching.
Line and Kamikaze, as I say, we won't be seeing reach the finish on this one. So, okay, so not a good start for Kamikaze, 1 point. Everybody else is in the mix there.
It's one of those tracks as well or stages where it's very flowy. So if you do make a big mistake, it's so hard to get yourself composed again, get yourself into that moment, because it's all about the feel. It's all about how you're feeling in your mind as well. And you're barely sort of thinking about what you're doing. You're just feeling it. And once you make a big error like that, that can obviously cost you.
Xbox platform, who's going to take home our 1st place. Some interesting developments, kicks in the eye. I mean, he had that race in his, that stage in his hands for the majority of things, but that roll really did cost him, didn't it?
Yeah, well, it looked like, looking at the timing screen, it was 6.7 seconds. And then the other guys were a full 10 seconds off the back of that, maybe 3 seconds, I think it was, between P3 and P4, looking at the screens in front of us here. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think he lost 6 seconds there, but I think you're going to have your confidence not. Of course, we saw another slight off-road moment towards, exactly at the end of the stage.
It would have been close. It would have been a hell of a lot closer.
Yeah, so certainly one who could take it to 60th yard in the next one. But best thing for them, of course, is they've got 6 and 5 points respectively. You've just got to keep scoring high in this all the way through the rally and the rallycross if you want to make it through.
Yeah, I think that's an important point to bring up to everyone at home. Obviously, there's a slight change of format from the quarterfinal to the semi-final. So important to be consistent across all the formats now, because every single race or every single stage, obviously you have those points available. It's not a case of you can kind of you have to perform once, you have to perform across all of them, but getting those points on the board early is going to be so important. Now, look at the other side of things, Kamikaze. He didn't have the greatest of races there. Obviously, something went wrong for him. We didn't see it. However, he does have the chance to make it up in these next 3 races and stages, but he's going to have to put the work in now. He's going to have some big performances over the next 3 stages.
Yeah, with the format we have here, mistakes aren't punished as severely as they were last time. So the 2 stages last time were added together to get the final points, and it was obviously 12 down to 1 with 12 competitors. But today they have 2 stages where they will earn points for each stage. So it's not all lost for Kamikaze. And last time out of nowhere, he decided to qualify for this, so I'm expecting to see the same from him again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do, and of course he's got that opportunity as we're going to move into Rallycross now for our next race, our first race of the day. Rallycross gave us some really exciting moments last week. Sorry, a couple of weeks ago. I keep saying last week. It was a couple of weeks ago. Time flies, doesn't it?
It does.
But it gave some really exciting moments, and I wanted to just highlight something to people again who might be joining us for the first time, watching Dirt for the first time. Just wanted to break down how important these Joker laps are, what the Joker lap is, and how it can affect a race for these players.
So Rallycross in real life and in Dirt 4 as well, basically you have a track and there's a Joker lap, which is an alternative lap. You have to take that alternative lap once in each race. So a qualifying race in real life is 4 laps, as it is in the game, and the semi-finals and the finals. And we're running finals here today are 6 laps long. So one of those laps, they have to take the alternate lap, the Joker lap. We use that like our tactics. So in Formula 1, you take a pit stop to try and edge the other guy in terms of track position. For us, if you get a bad start, you might Joker to try and get back into position. If if you're stuck in traffic halfway through the race, the same. If you're leading, you might wait until the end of the race. Tactically, it's really important. Of course, these guys are having to deal with that decision for themselves, whereas in real life, they have somebody who is entirely dedicated in the spotter's tower to going, you've got to go, he's 3.6 back, go now, block the guy who's just jokered. So sometimes you react to somebody else's joker. For me, the fact they're having to make those decisions themselves is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it makes it a lot more difficult for them. But ultimately, it's I keep saying it, high risk, high reward. These guys have got to use their own nous really in this position. But the fact that they've qualified to be in the top 6 on each platform shows to me that they're going to deal with it pretty well, I would say. Yeah,
now we're moving over to a track here in England, and one that I know you're particularly fond of. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect from this particular track and this particular race.
Yeah, it's my home track. So Lydden Hill is about an hour from where I live. It's down near Dover. It's the oldest rallycross track in the world, so it was where the first ever rallycross race was held. And interestingly, all this chat about Joker laps, the Joker lap at Lydden Hill is in the first corner. So if you end up drawn on the left-hand side of the grid, then you'll be heading off. The Joker goes off to the left. So you can see there on the track map, in fact. So the green part of the track map there is the Joker. You can see where the start-finish line is, where the checkered flag is. As you head off there, you go down towards turn 1. If you're drawn on the left-hand side of the grid, it can be advantageous to head straight into that Joker lap on the first run round.
It's very rare that a Joker lap does dictate you taking the Joker, and this is a track that it does do that.
Well, here we go. It looks like we're ready on the grid. All the players are in the lobby and ready to go. So, gentlemen, once again, take us through the action.
So we're looking at GTR Quinton. We've got 2 guys who are running the livery of Cyril Raymond, who's actually the current RX2 champion. One of them, so GTR Quinton stayed on the standard lap on the inside on the tarmac. Really important there to try and get traction on the exit, but he hasn't managed to do that. A little bit too sideways. He's going to get hung out to dry now down at Devil's Elbow. Up the inside, that is a pass from Kicked-In Yo, has managed to go through the inside, and in fact, GTR Quinton has dropped down to P4. And considering he's on the inside because we came through Cheston's Drift the first corner, that's not great.
That is, that's a big mistake by him. He's not only lost 1 position, he lost 3 positions. He led out into turn number 1. As you can see there, coming up towards the final couple of turns here at Lydden Hill. A little bit of action in front. Oh, big mistake there by Quentin. And we're not going to quite see the chicane in effect. The 3 in the front. Oh, he's lost
down to P6.
Now. He's not
down
even
to
jokered.
P6.
The 2 guys have just overtaken him, have jokered. And that could be effectively race over for him.
I think we're seeing some people struggle a little bit here with the RX2 car. Let's head into the Joker lap. So backs it in really nicely there. I have to say that was very, very tidy.
Great
you need to avoid the barriers on either side of the road there, as well as you bring it back out over the crest and onto the exit of Cheston. So this is the run down now towards Devil's Elbow. It's late on the brakes here, but it's important to get the exit speed here because it's long, and look, it's uphill. And of course, the RX2 cars don't have the power of the supercar, so mistakes are punished much more harshly.
Yeah, and you'll find somebody, you'll see who's practiced and who hasn't practiced here, because obviously with a smaller powered car up a hill, you've got to brake a lot later, and there's going to be opportunities for people to make overtakes on track. So we're on board here with Nicky L555. We're just changing now to Davey M. So Davey M is currently in 4th position, but he has jokered. The front 2 have not jokered. The delta here is about 3.5 seconds, I believe, and it's all about that chicane at the end of the joker, which we just saw Quentin do very, very well indeed. But when you finish that joker, you can almost forget there's a little jump at the end of that joker chicane as well. So you think, oh, I've done it, gone through clean. There's a jump
Get on the gas too early, and you end up
hit the barrier on the outside, or the little mound on the outside.
So Davey M is a little bit too sideways for my liking on entry. It worked well here at the hairpin, particularly because you're downhill, so he's got the car rotating. In fact, with an RX2 car in real life, you do need to get the rotation done on the way in. So nicely done there, but it didn't work. You saw the previous corner, Devil's Elbow at the bottom of the hill. It got a little bit too sideways. You've got to have a very fine balance between getting the car turned in and then making sure you get some exit speed. Let's see if we head down. Right, we're heading down now with kicked in yo. So watch here for Devil's Elbow. That's what the name of this left-hander is. On the brakes, turn the car in, on the throttle early, and that's better. Luke, he carries the exit speed, he's on the gas early, and you can see he doesn't lose ground up the hill. But if you don't get it turned in, you then get terminal understeer. So it's a really fine balancing act between that rotation on the way in and picking up the throttle early on the exit.
Yeah, it's a very tough car to use here, especially if these guys are used to the WRX cars. There's so much more power, but these cars have got so much more grip in the fill when you're using the wheel as well. So, you know, trying to get it turned in, you've got to do it a lot earlier as well, and you've got to be very, very committed. Kicked in the yo there, Joker in here, so it looks like he's struggling. He's not anywhere near the top 2 right now, and I can only go. Davey M is going to come out in 3rd position here, and I can only imagine that 60th yard is probably leading this race.
Kicked in yo, we were on board there, super close to the right-hand tyre wall, and he came through paddock bend. Okay, so Davey M again, do you see the difference? Sideways in the middle, yeah, and he's lost the speed now. So kicked in yo with a chance to make a pass on Davey M. This is the classic passing point. He goes defensive. That should give the chance for kicked in yo to try and get the cut back on the way out. Early on the throttle there and runs it wide. So Davey M there, nice defensive driving.
Really good position of the car there by Davey M. I think he realised his mistake as soon as he came out Devil's Elbow there.
Look how tight kicked in yo is again though on the barrier on the right hand side. So superb accuracy from kicked in yo. And this track, because again, look on the right hand side here, look at the tyre barrier on your right. If you clip it, it's game over immediate. And that's one of the hardest things about Lydden Hill is it's a big committed circuit. Kicked in yo up the inside on the exit to Chessons, but he's going to be on the right hand side now, goes late on the brakes. Davey M goes a bit sideways. Kicked in yo's alongside. Kicked in yo can get on the throttle here, should be able to hold on to it up to the top of the hill. Absolutely fantastic move, and that started 3 corners ago. He's early enough on the brakes, and he's lost it.
Reciprocated. Davey M takes the position back, and this battle for 3rd is really heating up right now into the final couple of corners here. Davey M is in 3rd spot with kicked in the yo in 2nd, then kicked in the yo's trying to come back at him now. Is he going to be able to get anything done? No, he's not. Oh, wow. Phenomenal stuff there.
Nicky L 555 looks to be a fair way back from those guys, only just coming through paddock bend now, up and past the chicane, don't hit the curb on the right hand side there, and that was our final finisher over the line. So
Kamikaze.
Yeah, okay, so we didn't see the leaders, it was Kamikaze.
Wow.
And then 60th yard finishing in P2, so we're looking at the timing screens in front of us. There you go, you've got it now as well. 4:14.6 the winner's time, 18.9, so a 4-second win for Kamikaze over 60th yard. Davey M managing to get P3, and that, of course, was on the last lap from Kicked In Yo, who I really thought, Luke, had got the job done, and unfortunately was a little bit too hot on the brakes up into hairpin, did everything right, and in fact, took advantage of Davey M's slightly slower exit speed down the Devil's Elbow.
Do you think he may have sort of become complacent? He spent a lap ghosting Davey M, thought I'm a lot quicker than this guy, and if I can get in front of that car, I've not really got anything to worry about in him trying to make the overtake back on me, and the complacency set in.
I think probably just you're desperate, aren't you? You've come out, he's on the right hand side, he knows he's got the corner covered off, and in fact he could have braked a lot earlier and forced Davey M to go all the way around the outside. So for me, he's just gone too deep on the brakes up at the hairpin, and that's that thing of I want the position, I want the position. Slightly too late, slightly too deep, didn't get it rotated, Davey M up the inside.
I'll tell you what, this is set up nicely, isn't it? We're halfway through, we've had one stage of rally, we've now had one race of rallycross. Kamikaze obviously didn't have the greatest performance on the rally, but he's just taken the rallycross there. I've got a feeling at the moment the leaderboards are incredibly close, but these are some of the replays, gentlemen, from what we just saw. I mean, talk us through these.
Well, turn 1 here, Quentin, he had it all to lose, and he did lose it. He lost it all. He actually went down into 6th position after the first turn of the 2nd lap here, after everyone had jokered as well. The 2 jokered cars, as you can see, they'll be in behind him right now. And then the front 3 going around the final corner here, looking very good. And then Quentin making that massive, massive error.
And that's what I was saying about the guy, I think Kicked In Yo we were riding on board with. His accuracy through the right-hander at the bottom of the hill was fantastic. And the difference you saw there with GTR Quinton, that's the difference in terms of lap time. You're either bang on the barrier and it's mega, or you clip it and you go around. So watch this. Kicked In Yo, this was the fantastic pass. Makes it around the outside. Davey M here, we know has been slightly over-rotating in the middle of the corner. Takes advantage of that. Now, for me, around about now, he should be on the brakes, and that would be backing Davey M up. He'd have to go around the outside. Instead, you can see he goes deep. He has to use the bar mid-corner to get it turned around, and that opens up the door, and Davey M up the inside to take the position back.
Fantastic from both of them, though. Again, it always takes 2 to tango, and create incredible moves like that. So fair play to both of those guys.
My favourite thing about that, though, is the fact that that is exactly where you overtake in real life. And so for me, it just gives you another great demonstration of how good this game is. We see passes exactly there, set up from Chessons to Devil's Elbow up to the hairpin. and that's the way it works. You need to set the guy up, you dummy him one way, and you force him to do something. You get the little bit of momentum, you stick the pass on him. So great.
It's so excited to see how close that battle was as well. That was going on for, as you say, that before that maneuver was made, it was about 3 turns beforehand that it sort of started to be set up. And I can't wait to see how this next rally stage is going to play out, because, as I say, all of these players at the moment are incredibly close as far as points are concerned. We've seen some flip-flopping between the rally and the rallycross. We've seen some consistency across the board. DVM, though, he's kind of sitting just outside that top 2, and of course it's just that top 2 who will go through on the Xbox to our grand finals at the Speedmachine Festival. So he's got it all to do. So he's definitely going to be a player to keep an eye on in this next rally stage.
Yeah, definitely. He needs to hit some big result there, because obviously 60th yard, Daviem were looking pretty strong. We've kicked in the yo through the first round, and then now Kamikaze's come out of nowhere. So the top 4 are really, really close now because of the changing in positions.
Well, we're about to get into our next stage of rally, which is very exciting, of course. We're going over to Wales now. We're going right across the world. We're global right here at the Dirt World Championships. What can you tell us about this track, Andrew?
I can tell you it's hard. So basically, this one is, in terms of analysis,
just what we want.
It's hard.
Pretty hard.
So it's hard because the complexity on this is set to 75%. So we're looking at a more complex stage in terms of pace notes. The distance is only 40%, so the stage is quicker. But for me, if you've played the game a lot, I think Wales is very, very hard. Sweden is arguably a little bit more difficult because of the snowbanks on both sides. But Wales, you've got the changes in light in between the trees. We've got narrow sections of road, and off here is penalised really, really heavily, I think. And there you go, you're getting a good idea. We've got random weather for this one as well, and in fact this time it's come up with mist. Oof. And that makes it even more difficult. It's going to be crucial to listen to those pace notes. A little bit like Australia, you've got 2 very distinct types of terrain. You've got the open stuff over the moors, and then you've got the twisty stuff like this, in between the banks, in between the trees through the forest. So it is a cracking stage to be competing on for the semi-finals, and very much looking forward to seeing how they get on. So we're going to be starting out on the moor, and I think that's a good place to get started. You can find your rhythm here without too much penalty, but Luke, you do need to watch out, don't you? Because just occasionally you get a 5 and then a 3 in close succession with the crests like this as well. Yeah, it's a favourite place for me to chuck it off, certainly.
It's the going up the hill corners where you just blind exits all the time there. So it becomes very, very difficult indeed for these guys. But you can see 60th yard here. This is where we'll see how strong he really is. But not that he needs to prove anything to me, of course. But you can see the visibility is a little bit better than it was last time we had fog in the previous quarterfinals.
Fog is basically really blind, whereas mist is patches. So there are occasions where you look up the road and you can't quite pick out. So here, for instance, you would maybe be able to pick out the line through the trees. Now, in real rally, we have a pace note which is deceptive, which basically means the tree line goes one way, but the road maybe goes the other. But again, in the game, you use a similar thing in terms of looking at the road and trying to figure out just where it goes. Luke, here, you can take quite big risks on these quick bits here. There are occasions where it's a couple of 6s and you might even be able to make a big cut, which isn't necessarily in the notes in the game. But if you've played it enough, you know you might get away with it, but you might not.
Yeah, you can see these guys would have played hours and hours and hours there. You've got to be very, very wary of those little puddles there or fords, because you can completely lose it there from there. The whole car can go off into oblivion. You lose so much momentum there, but you can see you just missed it there. Rear wheels may have just touched it at the end.
Water splash, yeah, I often find knocking it down a gear in a water splash as well, because again, as in real life, you find that you lose a lot of momentum as you head into the water splash. Sometimes I think if you can hook 2 wheels off the side of the road, you can manage to miss some of it, whereas in real life that results in you going into the river, which is never ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see here 60th yard again, star of the show, leading out. Davey M in 2nd spot right now. Looks like Quentin maybe in 3rd. Nicky L is he in? Maybe in 5th actually. I think 4th has been hidden there from us.
60th yard, they're quite brave on the left-hander. We're going to get a split screen up of our top 2 drivers. Again, big brave cut from 60th yard over to the right-hand side. So very familiar with this terrain and taking cuts in sensible, I hasten to say sensible places, but let's just say exploiting the full width of the road. And this is the difference again. So I've been lucky enough to sit with some very, very good rally drivers. On the left, who have we got? So we've got
60th yards on the left, the Yo's on the right-hand side.
It is indeed. So the best of the drivers, Luke, see a bit more road than the others. They are able to use a bit more. Would you say the same's true in the gaming community?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you know, as we know, these are generated, but they're very similar to each other. And you know, a 6 corner, you know, here on this stage is the same as another generated stage they would have done via Wales. So you kind of get a feel for it. You kind of know where you can cut, where you can't, and it does. Yeah, your nous there is using your knowledge of the game, let's say. the same as what you would do with co-driver. Your co-driver is that person for you in the real world.
Interesting as well to see these guys on gravel. So, of course, comparing that back to last time where it was much more tarmac-based. You know, I wonder if we've got guys here who prefer surfaces in terms of tar and gravel. I mean, I love the gravel. The car moving around underneath you is an absolutely fantastic sensation. If you've got a good rhythm, and I think you can very much see that with 60th yard on the left-hand side of your screen, you know, just rotating the car a bit on the way in, guaranteeing that turn in, then picking up the throttle again on the exit. Just a mega, mega job. Look at the speed through here, through this section. Really committed. Right-hand side, though, not so far back for Kicked-In Yo either.
No, they're both looking absolutely unbelievable right now. And you're right about the gravel. Again, it's more about the feel, the flow of the track, where with tarmac, it's a lot more stop-starty. You know, there's a lot more traction on the tyres and stuff like that. So, you know, I prefer these stages, absolutely. But you just see these guys are not making any mistakes at all. No. This is incredible.
Absolutely fantastic. So pick yourself a reference point and see if you can figure out the gap. I reckon it's a couple of seconds. So left-hand side is your leader. Yeah, 2 to 3 seconds through there. This is one of those sections I was saying as well about that you can take some risks with. You can almost, not quite straight line them, but almost. Look at 60th yard, fully lit over the crest. Absolutely on it, but runs wide after the finish line, luckily. And in fact, both do. So yeah, again, full use of full width of the road there. On board now with Nicky on 555, who does take the big risky cut on the way down the hill. Watch out for Nicky as he comes up towards the finish line over the crest. And that's what you want to hear. And over finish, of course, is the pace note which you want to relieve that pressure. So all the guys there you can see at the finish, running the car off the side of the road. You know, they know at that point it doesn't matter. But yeah, but it's also the fact that once you've crossed those two red markers, that's it. Your time's in. Doesn't matter if you bin it after that. And it's the awareness, isn't it? Of I know it's let's say a right 5. I don't care. I'm going through it in 6th because at that point it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Section of this race so far, the third section of the Xbox that he's managed to take home first place. So, you know, this guy's looking pretty good to qualify for our grand finals, bar something bad happening to him, of course, in our final rallycross race. But it's so tight between the rest of the field. You see Davey M there again in third place. He's definitely going to be one to keep an eye out on as we move into our final rallycross. If he can pull off a big performance and some of the people ahead of him have a disappointing one, he can still find his way into that grand final.
The thing is here, remember, only 2 are going through.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a seriously class field here, and only 2 of these guys can go through to fight it out at Speedmachine in the real world. You know, for the chance to drive a real rallycross car. So if they're feeling it right now at home, you know, if they're looking at trying to figure out the points as I'm trying to scribble stuff down here, you know, they're going to know it's going to be close, and they're going to know that ideally they need a win.
Yeah, I think 60th yard is looking very strong to go through, and I think it's between Kicked-In Yo and Davey M here for 2nd position, and I don't think there's a lot between it at all.
Well, speaking of our grand finals and speaking of Speedmachine, let's have a quick look at exactly where the grand final will be taking place. So let's have another quick look at the Speedmachine Festival. What a time to be joining us, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just joining us, the Speedmachine Festival is where our grand final will be taking place. And we are now moving into the final section of our semi-finals for the Xbox players. It is all about Rallycross now. Everything on the line. And as you said, Andrew, only 2 spots available for these players to find their way to our grand final. All on the line here, gentlemen. I mean, we talk about pressure. We talk about the players who are trying to make it into that top 2, but also those 2 players who are trying to hold on to those top 2 spots. It really is, you know, this is going to be exhilarating racing.
This is everything for these guys. You know, not only is ability going to be tested, your nerves are now going to be tested. Regardless whether you're sat at home, all comfortable at home, you know, you're going to feel something, right? It's the dream to drive a rallycross car.
I don't think anyone's feeling comfortable now at this point. You know, this is crunch time. This is tickets to Speedmachine. This is, you know, getting flown in from wherever you're living in the world to go and duke it out. And this is a World Championship title. This is the first ever World Championship title too. And I think, I don't know, as a gamer, I think I'd be pretty chuffed if I was the first ever Dirt 4 world champion, as well as driving a real rally.
It's very memorable. Everyone knows who you
the
are.
first one. That's right.
Everyone knows who the
Making
first
history.
champion of any game is. So yeah, it's a big opportunity for these guys.
That's very true. And now we're going over to Sweden. And, you know, Andrew, beforehand, I'm going to be honest with you, was trying to teach me how to pronounce this track. There's no point in me trying to learn because it wasn't going well. But, I mean, tell us a little bit about what we can expect over in Sweden.
So if you really came to Sweden, then what you can expect is a big party. Hollius,
I'm in.
It's known as the Magic Weekend. Yeah, you should come, dude. It's brilliant. Basically, 35,000 Scandinavian people descend on a forest in Sweden. It's pretty remote. We actually fly to Oslo and we drive 3 hours out to the track out in Sweden. But this track is the driver's favourite in real life. It is a roller coaster from start to finish. We've got a joke lap on the second corner, which is great because if you get mugged at the start, you've still got a chance to turn your strategy around. You know, there's a jump in the 2 jumps in this track. Big curbs, it's mega.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Luke, because I love doing this to people.
Oh.
Who are your 2 drivers who are going to be going through to our grand finals?
I think you have to say 60th yard. You have to say 60th
That's one.
Yard. Yeah,
That's one.
We ticked already. Yeah, Andrew's ticked it already.
We're not having to go back on this, are we? And?
I got to go with my boy Davey. I went with him the whole time.
Favoritism.
Quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Here he goes.
There he is.
It's just
You know.
not allowed, is it?
No, he turns up in that shirt, and now he's being showing favouritism. I mean, what can you say? And he left early last week.
I know.
mean, unbelievable
Well, I had
stuff.
to get the shirt from somewhere, didn't
That's a good point, actually. That was well invested time, to be fair. And then we're about to get into our final race here, gentlemen. It's all down to Rallycross again. In my opinion, been the most exciting to watch as a spectator so far in the Dirt World Championships. But now it's all coming down to this final race. The pressure has just got to be immense for these guys. I mean, we've talked about what's on the line. You know, that chance to drive that Rallycross car. I mean, what else can we say about it coming down to this? We had the quarterfinals. We had... I can't even imagine how many players actually competed in this to get down to this spot now, but there is only 2 spots
over
available.
20,000.
20,000 players,
Yeah.
and now we're looking for just 2.
I think the thing for me is that, you know, this is, up until now, this is still playing the game at home on your console, on your PC, in your gaming room, in your lounge. And what's at stake now is coming to the World Rallycross Championship in real life and being in a room full of people cheering while you're duking it out with 6 other guys on pods next to each other. You know, it's not the same. And that, you know, if you can make it to now, if you don't make it from now to the final, for me, you're gutted. You know, and that's that's where the pressure comes from, is to come so close and not to get to go to Silverstone. I think it'd be hard.
Yeah, to qualify for a LAN final in any esport, no one can ever take that away from you. But to then qualify for a LAN final, that's not only just a LAN final, it's at a Speedmachine event, or it's at a racing event, and you've got the real World Rallycross guys there. That's the dream, isn't it? Like, there's prizes, but that is just incredible. And
of course, all these the races in our grand final will be racing on pods as well. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see. We talked about it before, how we are currently sort of have our platform separated and we're looking for the best players from each platform. But now when we get to our grand final, everyone's going to be on the same level. So we really are going to see who the best driver in the world is.
Yeah, you find as well when you get to the LAN finals that some people can cope with the change of equipment better than others, and you sometimes get a surprise winner as well. So yeah, it can be pretty crazy.
Well, just to let you know, to keep you updated, at the moment, 60th Yard is sat in first place with Kicked In Yo on 13 points behind him. However, Davey M is sat on 12 points in 3rd place, as we do have our Rallycross getting underway, gentlemen. It's all to play for here.
There's a big off here. Davey M just got tangled up there. I'm not sure who that is in behind him there. And they both went off into the gravel, and they've come back into the pack there. And it's
Kicked In Yo, who's trying to come around the outside on the way up into the carousel, the velodrome, up at the end of the course. So he makes it around. Davey M is in P2. Not quite sure who's out in the lead. Davey M, though, with that moment in the first corner, into the right-hander, up and over the curbs. It's crucial to get your line right off the jump, and Kicked In Yo's a bit too sideways. Davey M gets 2 wheels on the grass as well. Both of them get away with it somehow, so the 2 of them holding on to it, and contact again. So Kicked In Yo up the inside into the right-hander. That's the first of those crests. Davey M then tries to come back, and Davey M wanted to go Joker there and couldn't go because his line was being blocked, and that's what happens at Hollius. And he Kicked In Yo's coming under pressure here as well. I think it's Kamikaze in the green liveried car.
Well, this is vital here that Kicked In Yo gets a nice couple of laps in here, and he's actually got a blocker in behind him from Davey M, because Kicked In Yo, if he does finish ahead here of Davey M, he will be going to Speedmachine by the looks of things. But yeah, Davey M's taken a joke already. Kicked In Yo has not, so it's all on this next couple of laps. You see that the jump after, well, for turn number 1 is absolutely vital here. Obviously, you've got to settle your car. If you've got someone else in front of you, we just saw Davey M got blocked off to go into the Joker because of that jump.
That will have cost him time as well. So that's the thing here. So off the start line, you know, you get your choice of whether or not you maybe head into the Joker. But if you're stuck in the pack, or certainly later on in the race, if the person in front of you turns left to go in, you're struggling, then your speed into the Joker is compromised, and you can actually go in the Joker here pretty well lit up on the throttle, down the hill, stay tight left on the barrier, in not too much curve, get it straight before the jump, perfect. So kicked in Yo now with a good performance into the hairpin. And again, here, Luke, you need to use all the road, don't you, on the exit too, to make sure you get the throttle on.
To keep the momentum of that the car going, you do need to use all the road. This track loves to have a little jump in it as well, and you know, you have a corner coming in very quick succession after these jumps. You've got to get the car settled as quickly as possible.
The rhythm here is amazing. Look, this is what I meant about it being a roller coaster. You've done 3 crests there inside 4 corners. So kicked in Yo now through Velodrome, the long left-hander, and again, it's important there to get to the apex. He is coming up towards the crest on gravels. This is 5th, 6th gear down here on the brakes, turn it in, and then a bit of gas up and over the crest. So get it tight in on the curves on the left-hand side here. This is a good performance, and the leader is looking like his 60th yard, is it? I think it is, who's out in front here. But a 60th yard yet to Joker, has kicked in Yo Joker as well. There's my memory's serving me too well.
No, they've taken a Joker here, but then again, they've both pretty much got clear track here. You can see that kicked in Yo isn't quite close enough here to be upended by the guy in first position. Be interesting to see where Davey M is right now for this battle for second position in this championship to go to Speedmachine.
Davey M has to beat kicked in Yo here. So if he beats him by 1 position, they'll be equal on points, and then we'll go back to tiebreakers, and that'll probably mean that the scores will be coming to you a little while later, let's say, while the adjudicators look at that. Or kicked in Yo pulling it back on the track. And Luke, really important he did, because if you cut a corner in this game, of course, you can be automatically penalised, which is the last thing you'd want right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joker, kicked in Yo into the Joker lap. Lovely, really nicely done. Had caught up with the car in front of him, 60th yard. Obviously felt he was going to be compromised in terms of pace, but best of all, 60th yard was not in his way on the way into the Joker lap, whereas we saw when Davey M took his Joker, it was compromised. Davey M looks like he's in behind Kamikaze as well. I think Kamikaze's Joker too. So at the minute, it would be 60th yard going through, and kicked in Yo, who is on 13 points, 1 point ahead of this man, Davey M, would be going through to the final, because Davey M needs to beat him by 2 places if he wants to go through automatically. By 1 place, it will go down to the tiebreaker.
Yeah, all that pressure there on kicked in the Yo, and he comes out on top against Davey M, and it does look like 60th yard. And of course, kicked in the Yo are going to go through to Speedmachine. We'll get that confirmed for you a little bit later, but yeah, there you go. 60th yard, not really under pressure that whole race yet again. Kicked in the Yo finishes in second spot. Sorry, it's kicked in Yo. I keep saying the. Kamikaze with 3rd position. Davey M down in 4th spot, and then Quentin and Nicky rounding out those 6 positions.
Well, fantastic race, gentlemen. As you can say, there are provisional standings. Obviously, we've got to have some adjudication done, and we'll get the final results to you as quickly as possible. But, I mean, the 2 drivers at the top there, I mean, separated themselves from the field, in my opinion. Really standout performances from them. Davey M just missing out at the moment. Obviously, things might change. We're still waiting for final adjudication. But those 2 drivers, I mean, you can't argue with those. Been the best across the quarterfinals and the semi-finals so far.
Yeah, I would say so. Davey M got caught behind kicked in the Yo going into the Joker. Like you said, he's lost him a lot of time there, and then he was stuck in behind Kamikaze. And over the course of the 2 events we've had so far, Kamikaze isn't as quick as Davey M, and that's cost him the time there. And kicked in the Yo, he's not going to be worried about it. He's just going to take it on board and just see you later, I'm off.
And I think, importantly, they're going into the final 2. 60th yard, while we've said has been the standout performer on Xbox, for me, there, kicked in Yo had the measure of him in terms of pace around Hollius there. We could see him closing in. The difference was Joker lap strategy, and so it was 60th yard who took it, but kicked in Yo, if the results stand as we think they were, I think those 2 are going to be 2 mega candidates to go through to the final. But
well, that's going to do it for our Xbox, gentlemen. A fantastic start to the day, fantastic racing. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of time to put together the final results, get the adjudication done, but don't go anywhere, because when we get back, we're going to get into our PC leg of the Dirt World Championships.
inside of me. I can't hide it. I need to let it be free. I don't know how you're gonna take to it, but if you understand just a little bit, oh, follow me, show a burning desire. Follow me, set your heart on fire. Follow me, take your love, take your love. Follow me, high above, high above.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gfinity Arena, and welcome back to the Dirt World Championships. We've just seen our Xbox players going up against each other and battling it out. And the good news is, gentlemen, that we have our final standings just coming up. Of course, we've seen Rally, we've seen Rallycross, and here we are. Our semi-finalists have been confirmed. Our finalists will be the 60th yard and Kicked In Yo, the two drivers that we were keeping an eye on before that. Unfortunately, Davey M just missing out by a few points there, gentlemen. But those standings, the two we're expecting to go through, incredibly exciting.
Yeah, I think interestingly they're looking at the consistency as well. So 60th yard there with 3 wins out of the 4, and then Kicked In Yo was behind him. They both actually had a shocker on their first Rallycross race from the looks of things. But yeah, you know, better job done, I think, in the second one.
Yeah, definitely both deserving to go through. You know, regardless of who my loyalty stands by, Davey. Oh, he's gone. But, you know, I Kicked In Yo, and obviously 60th yard, very well deserving, especially 60th yard. He's absolutely smashed it.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah,
A phenomenal driver.
incredible.
And talking of phenomenal drivers, we're now moving into our PC leg of the Dirt World Championships. This gave us a lot of action, so incredibly tight between these drivers last week. So let's have a quick look exactly at some of the action that we did see between all of these drivers and competitors last week. I mean, it was incredible.
Nesta,
it was
the
incredible.
Nesta
Yes, the Nesta, as we called it. Classic vintage Nesta, but how the competition between these drivers was intense.
Yeah, great racing in Rallycross. The rally onboards, when we did the side-by-side, which I'm sure we'll do a split screen for you again this time if it's that close, it was so close between them that literally you needed the timing screen to be able to tell you who was going to do what. In fact, G2 Topa, of course, managing to scrape his way in at the end. But if you look at the quality of the 6 drivers that have made this semi-final, this is all to play for.
Yeah, there really wasn't a lot between them. And I know, Luke, that some of the drivers to you were really standout drivers there.
Oh, it's unbelievable. You look at some of the guys that haven't qualified, and you just wow, unbelievable that, you know, we see that Soderberg produced that moment for you, the overtake at Hell. You know, we've got Merck there, who's an incredible talent as well, and they haven't made it through. So the top 6 are really special. Any one of those 6, or any 2 of those 6 can qualify from this, from my point of view, for sure.
Well, let's have a quick look at the format. If you are just joining us, of course, welcome along. Where have you been? This is Dirt World Championships, but let's keep you up to date on exactly how the semi-finals is going to work. Of course, we start off with a stage of rally, then we move across to the Rallycross race where we have 6 laps, then we move back to another stage of rally, and then finally, of course, we've seen how close it can be as we approach that final race of Rallycross, 6 laps to decide who will be going through to our grand finals. And much like the Xbox that we've already seen, the PC and the PlayStation 4, only 2 spots available. Now, we thought it was close on the Xbox, gentlemen, but I haven't seen the level of competition between these PC drivers. I mean, I literally cannot pick. There's no standout names for me in those 6. I mean, you talked about the players who have missed out, let alone the ones who have made it in. So those 2 spots, I mean, this is going to be some crazy races.
The 2 Oscaro guys were the standouts for us, but then they still got pipped by Veloce Isa. He had a really poor first rally stage, if I remember rightly, last time, and then just smashed it over 3 events to get himself on the top of the leaderboards ahead of those guys. But then we've got G2 Topa, who's just won the Project Cars A1 World Rallycross title. So, you know, I was in Vienna with him casting on that event, and he is an unbelievable talent. And he did what I said he might do in this competition. He was a slow burner. He didn't really perform to his potential at the start of the competition, but scraped through like we've seen. And then, obviously, this is the same here. In this competition, in Vienna, he actually was struggling all day, and then in the final, just went and blitzed it.
Well, here we go. We're into our PC stage of the semi-finals, gentlemen. We're already into our first stage of rally. It's over to you.
And there you go.
Sweden.
Yeah, it is Sweden, yeah.
Yeah, onto the snow of Sweden. So we talked about how tricky Sweden can be, and again, you know, you're seeing that here. So the banks vary in terms of depth, and that gives you an idea then of how much you can lean on that bank and also how much you can cut it. So if you cut a big deep bank by too much, you get a wheel hooked in, you can get yourself completely dragged in. But for me, this is probably the hardest. You know, this and Wales I think are pretty close in terms of being not at all forgiving.
You cannot cut the track anywhere here. You know, there's no high risk, high reward here. You just got to keep it on the tarmac. Just try and be consistently quick. I know that sounds very, very obvious, but it is a very, very tough stages indeed here. And you can just see there's no room for error. If you hit this, if you lose it on the exit or if you lose it on the entrance, both ways, you're going to end up either losing control of the car completely, end up on your roof, end up on your side. There's so many possibilities of how it can go badly.
Have a look though at the left-hand side of your screen, and that'll give you a good idea of what we mean about the depth in quality of the runners in the PC platform. These guys are absolutely level with each other. At the minute, it looks like Oskaro Una is leading, but it is so close between these guys. So Oskaro Una P at the front, but look, the very fact all the names are overlapping gives you all you need to know. Basically, it's super tight between these guys. Remember, it's 6 points for the win, down to 1 point for 6th, and that's across each of the rally stages and each of the rallycross races. So, wow, if this carries on like this for the next 40 minutes, we're in for a real treat.
Well, you can say, you know, you say that it's really, really close there, but you can really sense the difference between Juna and, of course, Isa's style there. Isa looked a bit more erratic, and Juna just looked so smooth around this course. It's almost like he's done it before. This exact format. This is incredible from him. He's again, he's not overextended. He's not cutting the track at all. He's getting on the brakes very, very early. He's just making sure that he is on the tarmac section of this course here, and he's absolutely smashing it right now.
That section there is really committed, you can see, and again, if you're familiar with the game, you'll know that the sections, there's a couple of sections in Sweden, one with Armco down the side, but they look quite familiar. Even on the stages which self-generate, you start to know the bits which are really fast. These jumps vary. Some of them are absolutely massive, and a lot like this will be a jump then into a right-hander, and you can see often this tightens with rocks on the outside. So there are certain things, obviously you learn the characteristics, Luke, don't you, of a game, which means that you get less surprises the more you play it, and that's why these guys are so good, of course, is they've played this so much that you'd like to think they won't get too many surprises at all. But, you know, posts at the side of the road, I say how narrow these stages are, and also the grip levels in Sweden change a lot, don't they, from heavy snow and slush and the various things. So G2 Nesta is dropped out of the back of the pack, so G2 Nesta looks to have made a mistake, and we're going to see a split screen of the top two drivers. So on the left-hand side, Oskaro Una P, on the right-hand side, Oskaro Billy Cherokee. So two of the Oskaro drivers right up close behind.
4.5 seconds between them.
Nicely done, Luke. So Luke has been doing what we said. You pick a landmark at the side of the road, and then you can measure the distance between the two cars. So big crest into the right-hander. Oskaro Una P looking pretty comfortable here to me.
Yeah, Billy Cherokee looks like he's taking the corners a little bit tighter, but a little bit slower.
So not carrying the momentum through them. Yeah. So which do you think? In some ways, I think that the tighter is more of a risk in Sweden, because if you hook a wheel, you stand to lose so much time. You know, but you have to have confidence if you want to go as committed as Una P is.
Well, Una P's in a really good position now, where he doesn't have to take any risks. You can, you know, take the first 2/3 really as quick as you possibly can, and then just slow it up a little bit, take a little bit of pace off of your corners, and make sure you get to that finish line. You know, with these rally stages, I don't think it's necessarily important to get the W straight off the bat. I think just getting a really consistent, you know, couple of second positions, maybe, you know, even a second and a third, just to make sure you're assured, because it is that tough. But that, you know, you see Nesta is obviously pushed a little bit too much here, which has not gone too well for him.
It's really difficult, isn't it? Because you've got to balance commitment with trying to get a result. You don't want a one-pointer here, but likewise the level is so high. Really, it's not. You know, the quarterfinals, I think we saw significant differences. Maybe not on the PC platform, in fact, that we're looking at now. But so you kind of knew, okay, after the first event, I've really smashed it here. I think I can probably chill a little bit for the rest of it. This, I think the level's so high, you're looking at full risk if you want to take a win here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can see that actually G2 Topper's moved up into 4th position, because Alexandru Bottas has made a mistake here.
Velocia Isa is in the lead group, so the three on the left-hand side of your screen, the two Oskaro drivers and Velocia Isa. But in fact, for me, Oskaro showing up as P4, so I think we're seeing both the G2 guys are out the back door in this one. So the G2 drivers who did qualify, remember, 5th and 6th for the semi-final at the minute, are sitting 5th and 6th on this first stage. So they're going to want a big push in the rallycross, and maybe on the next stage as well, to try and make those points up.
How good a team Oskaro looking, though. They look really, really strong here. They found some serious talent. But with Junior P and Billy Cherokee, they are looking unbelievably strong for this whole championship. And we said before that we believe that the PC guys are a little bit stronger than the console guys. So moving forwards, you know, and they will be on PC rigs at the finals as well.
Unipi's taken the win on the left-hand side of the screen, crosses the line first. Billy Cherokee comes through in second place. Veloce Isa crosses the line for third, just behind. So Veloce Isa was close. Oscaro looking going to get another driver through in P4. And in fact, look at the difference in pace. You can see that in the background, Topa and Nesta are a little way further back. We ride on board now with Nesta. Well, these guys are part of quite a famous gaming team.
Yeah, Mr. Alonso from Formula One. If you don't know who he is, then what are you doing with yourself?
Yes, how very dare you.
And yeah, so they are a member of Fernando Alonso's racing team, and but they're not having the best of days today. But they are very much more track specialists, I would say, rallycross, you know, and things like that. So
well, they rescued it, didn't they, in the rallycross last time out to drag themselves through. So interesting that it didn't go so well. I say Sweden is tough, and I think you know, you do have your favourite surfaces maybe and your favourite types of stages. There are some which are a little more forgiving, and you get away with a few more risks. You can't in Sweden. You've got to be really accurate. But either way, I mean, you know, they didn't get the job done there. We did.
Well, let's not take it away from the actual winners, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Junior P and Billy Cherokee for Team Oscaro. An unbelievable performance by those guys. You know, as much as other people are making mistakes, those guys really didn't.
Well, here is your leaderboard, and here's how the that particular rally finished. And it is Unipi, as you say, and Billy Cherokee who take those first two places. Very close, though, as you said. You could say, you know, maybe a good way to start off this PC leg, having a very difficult stage there, difficult conditions. One way that we could maybe separate some of the players that we have in this PC lobby, because they have been so closely contested throughout this, from the quarterfinals, now we're into the semi-finals as well. Maybe getting that one out of the way, getting a good start here will be what separates the teams come towards the latter ends of this.
Well, look at Veloce Isa. John himself, he had a really poor rally stage to start off with in the qualifying for this, or the quarterfinals to get here to this stage. And he's just knocked up a third position, so that was, you know, 3 positions higher than he did when he first, you know, in the quarterfinals, when he was in the qualifiers, of course. So I feel like that him going into rallycross puts him as one of the favourites to qualify here, just because his rallycross is unbelievable. Yeah,
that's one thing that we got to highlight as well. Of course, some of these drivers do prefer rallycross to rally, and vice versa. So it's going to be interesting to see how that obviously goes across all the formats. Obviously, we have 2 rally stages, we have 2 rallycross, so it's going to be interesting to see if anyone's keeping something a little behind for those rallycross races.
Well, they qualified, didn't they, via different formats? So there was, I think it was 6 weeks of qualifying. Half of them were via rallycross and half of them were via rally. So you know, you've got guys who've maybe come in and absolutely killed it in one and not so good in the other. We did have one guy, didn't we, who qualified though, I think twice, once in rally and once in rallycross.
Yeah. Just because you can.
Yeah, just because you can. But you know, some people are that good at both. But yeah, sure. For me, at this level now in the semi-finals, you've got to be good at both. It's not enough. You might just rescue it by being really good at one, but I think the people who are going to shine are the people who can absolutely kill it in both.
I don't think you could qualify first or second. I think you could get a third maybe if you're only accomplished at one discipline. But yeah, to get top 2, and especially on PC, like, you know, I think you'd struggle in console, but on PC you have to be the dogs at everything, really.
Yeah, well, the Oscaro boys obviously started off hot here, as you say, a lot of talent, obviously, on that particular organisation, and it seems like they're representing them quite well at the moment. Are they the 2 you would expect to see at the top of the leaderboards there? I know it is, of course, incredibly tightly contested between the PC players, but obviously they've got that organisation behind them. They've obviously backed these players for a reason. Are we looking as those 2 players as our favourites moving forward?
Yeah, I don't think you can look past them, you know, from their quarterfinal performance, and then coming into this, obviously they've just smashed it at Sweden, which is one of the toughest places to rally, that's for sure. And Oscaro don't sign drivers that can't win events. That's just not in their DNA. I've spent some time with their manager. I don't know whether he's going to be watching this today, because he might be recovering from copious amounts of alcohol in Vienna. But yeah, he was talking to me about how this is becoming one of their priority games now. So they've not been picked because they're making up any numbers. You know, Oscaro want to be the very, very best.
Yeah, and they look like they are started off well.
It's worth noting that everybody in the PC semi-final is what you would call a pro sim racer. You know, so we've got a few guys in there whose names maybe wouldn't, and obviously I come from real world, so I'm not so familiar anyway. Last time for me, you know, okay, G2 I was aware of because it crosses over quite a lot with real world. You can see some of the replays now. Veloce, Oscaro, you know, say all of these guys' names are you know, there is a pre-word, which is the name of a team, and that goes to show you the level at which you know, people are competing in this game. This is professional stuff. All 6 are with teams. yeah, it's going to be a mega semi-final.
And now we're moving obviously into Rallycross now, the first time we're going to see this on the PC. Do you feel like there might be some interesting tactics going on board here? Obviously you have some teammates potentially in the field here.
3 Oscaro in one race.
Exactly.
Like, they're very, very well known for tactics in racing as well. So, yeah, they will absolutely be, they'll be in a conversation with each other, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's getting interested to see how that one plays out.
Yeah,
Keeping your eye on that one, Andrew?
Well, I'm also interested to know, after last time particularly, because of the amount of concentration it takes to get the job done for yourself. So we've already mentioned the spotters thing. How many of these guys have maybe got someone else in the room with them who could be watching the stream separately or taking split times as we have been on the rally? Yeah, so we're here looking at it. For me, if you were really serious about this, you could be doing the same thing at home. You could have somebody else in the room with you, silent, trusted friend, who at the right time will go joker now because they're watching and able to take in more of the race. You're so busy driving the car yourself. Will we see that, become a professional situation in this game in the end?
Well, we are loading it into our first Rallycross race for the PC. A very quick question to you, Luke, as this does get underway. Obviously, there's only 2 spots for our grand final here, but there's 3 Oscaro drivers. How's that conversation going to go between them? How do they decide?
Well, they just got to hope that they don't crash into each other. That's the first thing they've got to get out the way. But, they're all professionals. Of course, they're professionals. You see Nesta here. I think Nesta's in 2nd position. No, he's in 3rd, sorry.
Yeah, Nesta got mugged big time at the start. Yeah. So down into turn 1 first, but got wide of that strip of tar. There's one strip of tar on the inside of the first corner, which is Chesson's Drift, named after Bill Chesson, who's one of the guys who helped build the Lydden Hill circuit. Yeah, there's some knowledge for you. That's very close to track limits, that is, but good effort. So Oscaro Unipi, who we've already seen take the win, of course, on the first of the rally stages, is out front. Now watch, out to the barrier, as far out as you can get, but ideally, you want to get in on the tar for a little bit of a slingshot. What's nice there, of course, is without the change of grip halfway through the corner, he set the car up early and was able to slide it the full width through the corner. Watch again for the rotation here. Perfect.
Look at the limits he's using here. He's using every inch of that road. And you can see he's just pulling away from these guys. And we've said how even this group of guys are on PC, but he is the star of the show right now.
For me, using the handbrake on the way there up into the first corner, the hairpin at the top of the hill. Let's see the run through paddock bend. So right out on the grass. Note, not quite so close to the barrier on the right-hand side, just giving yourself a little bit of breathing space. You can cut the curb on the right, you cannot cut the curb on the left. To seen that in real life, it's an absolute disaster, and it will be as much of a disaster here. So Unipi, look at the line again through Chesson. So that suggests he didn't run wide. He's not using the strip of tarmac on the inside. That avoids then any chance of hooking a wheel with a small low-level tyre barrier, which is on the right-hand side as you come through the corner. But also, as we say, it enables him to maintain the slip angle all the way through the corner. Again, look at that. Early on the throttle, he'll come out wide now, and if he takes the same line again, watch for him to cross over the white line onto the grass on the outside and gets the car turned in. Does he give himself a bit of breathing space? Not quite so much. I'm impressed with this,
How
Luke.
consistent is he? This is incredible stuff. And we're just talking about here, turn 1. We're going to watch it from his point of view. Just gets a little bit of time at that, but what I think he's doing is trying to get out as wide as possible on the exit, use the camber of the turn to get this car turned into that corner, because it is a very tough car to get into the apex.
He's got consistency of grip, hasn't he, with the line he's on. As I say, if you get into the inside, you can get a bit of a slingshot off the tarmac, but instead he's just holding it out slightly wider and carrying the speed all the way through the corner. So this is pretty devastating from him so far.
This isn't just
what
good,
we haven't seen. Yeah, this is outrageous.
This is a special performance.
What we haven't seen, of course, is who's jokered. So we've missed who's jokered in the background, and that puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of knowing whether or not he's got enough time.
I think he's well ahead here to now. I don't think he's got to be worried about anybody here. This is one of the best performances I've ever seen at this particular track. This is phenomenal. Same line, every corner, every lap.
One car within shouting distance in the background, but have they jokered or not? Of course, we don't know just right now, but we sit with Unipi, the leader, the winner of the first rally stage, and Unipi will have to be taking the joker. Not sure he's on lap 5 or lap 6, but remember that alternate lap to come. And Luke, here the joker is, I think, the hardest in the game.
Yeah, with that chicane on the end, and obviously there's like a blind jump at the end of it. You think you've got the car settled, and then all of a sudden you're in the air, and obviously you cannot affect the car's speed or, of course, the direction it's taken once you are in the air. And here we are now on the final lap. He is taking
into the joker, comes into the right. For me, this is the hard part. The corner is tightening up and you're on the brakes. He doesn't carry as much speed into there as he could have done, but I think the other laps are perfect. And there was the car that was following him, so they hadn't jokered. It was Oscaro Billy Cherokee. He's not in a position to challenge Unipi at all, and that is a stunning drive. And for me, I'd say Unipi's joker lap there, not the best, but every other lap was absolutely inch perfect, and that meant he didn't need it.
I think Billy Cherokee's put in one of the best performances we probably would have ever seen if we were on board with him. just goes to show how special this performance by Junior P has been. He's going around the final corner now, and he's going to pick up the maximum points. But what about Team Oscaro, Billy Cherokee, and of course Junior P are just in such a strong position to go through now. 2 clean sweeps.
Alexandra Bottas, who is their 3rd driver in this one, but I think he's down in P6. We haven't seen the others cross the line, but I'm assuming they have, as we can't see them on track. So crosses the line to complete the race. But interestingly there, we're looking at 1st and 2nd place for the 2 guys who were 1st and 2nd on the first rally stage, and that puts you in a really comfortable position moving forward in this competition.
You can afford a huge mistake now. One of those 2 guys can genuinely have a huge mistake now, and they would still be in the running for the final race.
And this is what I also meant about have you got another person in the room? Because for me, you need to be across what the other guys are doing. So we're now getting live scores coming in on the desk here. We're able to top these points up as they go. You need someone at home doing that for you as well. But there's the result. Junior P with a 2nd win. Oscaro P1 and P2 in both of the first 2 disciplines on the PC platform. So a great run by Billy Cherokee to 2nd place there. Topa and Nesta from G2, better results on Rallycross to see them maybe slightly further up the leaderboard than they were before, and then it's Velociza and Alexandru Bottas down in P6.
I think that only helps Team Oscaro, because we've got 2 different guys finishing in 3rd and 4th, which means the gap between Junior P and Billy Cherokee to everybody else is going to be much more exaggerated now.
Yeah, I mean, it's slightly different to what we saw on the Xbox. Obviously, it was very much all to play for going into the 3rd and 4th section of the format. But I mean, that run from Junior P, I mean, that was absolutely incredible. When you've got daylight between you on a 6 laps as well, it's not like we've just, raced over like 30, 40 laps, is it? It's like 6 laps to make that difference between the 1st and 2nd place. Incredible performance.
He's done a lot of laps in that car on that track, 100%, because the RX2 car, it doesn't respond well to being chucked around like the supercar does. Let's have a look at the replays here. This was G2 Nesta, who got completely marked down at turn 1, look. Ended up out in the barrier. Kind of a little bit unlucky, I think. But Junior P, look at this. Every single time on the same point, turn in, exit, running the car out wide over the lines. Particularly we saw down there at the bottom of the hill. I said, didn't I? He'll go on the grass here. He did. Over the white line, he did.
You could put every lap overlap each other, and you would just see minimal difference in the car movement.
And that's what I mean about how he must have done a lot of laps, Luke, because to get that level of consistency in a car which needs to be driven very accurately, he spent some time. Now, this was the point, as I say, and we're talking a tiny bit. He could have braked a tiny bit later, and you would have seen then you saw him come off the brake and go back on it again. He turned in, and he had to turn back out because he was coming too close into the apex on the right-hand side there. So,
but it was we didn't know who it was behind him.
No,
we know it was his teammate.
Yeah.
Maybe they were talking, and he didn't take any chances with that chicane.
Oh, it was mega.
Didn't have to, did he?
No, and that's the point, because he did the hard. Yes, exactly. He did the hard work on the 5 laps previously. Got the whole shot. Came out of Chestnut in the lead. Didn't make a single mistake on the 5 laps. That means then you can be a bit careful in the joke lap. Didn't need to take any risks.
Now we're back over to rally, gentlemen, and obviously now it's all up to the G2 guys to make something happen. They need to put in incredible performances here. Obviously, they're currently saying every single player who's in this lobby is now chasing these guys from Oscaro up top. I mean, the question is, after just seeing what we've seen from these 2 Oscaro drivers in the first rally stage and the first rallycross race, I mean, is there really any opportunity for them to steal their way into this grand final?
You got to take a risk.
They have to win. They have to.
You got to go for it.
If Billy Cherokee and of course Junior P get a 1st and 2nd, it's game over, then, isn't it? But yeah, they have to get a win. The G2 guys need to get a win. Veloci needs to get a win. And the other Oscaro driver, Alexandre, he needs to get a win. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more risks here.
All in.
Potentially could see a couple of cars on their roof now. I think it's really going to get interesting.
Definitely going to be some exciting racing. We're going back over to Wales as well. And you mentioned, Andrew, a difficult track here. Could be something, might be an opportunity. There might be a mistake in here for the Oscaro drivers. You never know. One mistake, and before you know it, we could be going into that final rallycross race, and we could have everything to play for.
100%. There are places here where there are gains to be made by taking a risk in terms of a cut which maybe isn't the traditional line. So you might get away with it.
I love that. Traditional line.
Traditional, yeah. Basically, not quite listening to your co-driver. Sometimes you look at the road and you think, okay, in real life, you'd have done 2 recce's and you'd have made a dead certain note. But on this, sometimes the co-driver makes a call. Do you know what? I reckon I might be able to use a bit of that grass. And we saw some really nice cutting, some sensible cutting from 60th yard on the Xbox. It's just using a little bit more road than real road. Rallying, we can run the cars off across some of the scenery on the inside. But if you do it in the wrong place, it's a massive price to pay. So how many of those risks do you want to take? And I think we're going to see the guys from G2. They're the ones who need to take those risks. They need a win here to put the pressure back on the Oscaro guys ready for the 2nd rallycross race.
Well, I hope this all gets set up beautifully for our final rallycross race. I hate to say it, we've seen some incredible driving from Oscaro, but a mistake coming in here would make it very exciting for us here on the desk and, of course, everyone at home. So all to play for at the moment for these guys, but the Oscara guys have just been by far and away. Unipede's been incredible so far. I mean, not only the rally stage, but the way that he commanded that race in the rallycross was absolutely incredible. And it's interesting to see how these two players have actually separated themselves from the field ever so slightly, considering that when we were in our quarterfinals, everything was so hotly contested.
He wasn't one of the big dogs, though, in the quarterfinals. He came 5th or 6th, I believe. It was Alexandre and it was Billy Cherokee for Team Oscaro. They obviously came 2nd and 3rd, so they were the big dogs for Oscaro. Juniper is probably thought, I know my ability, I know I should be better than that, and you say he's put in some laps on that.
I was going to say, don't forget these guys, there's a document that they get which basically is their briefing, their information pack. Obviously, they're all given it at the same time to make sure it's fair, that everybody knows, right, these are the settings you use, this you can do, this you can't do, this is the stage, this is the weather. Or it will be random weather, as we saw in Wales last time. So they knew it was an RX2 car, and they knew it was Lydden Hill. And interestingly, we know one of the players was not very familiar with an RX2 car and was like, okay, I'm going to have to do some laps. So if Unipede's been playing with an RX2 car, you know, for all year, he's already got that step ahead. Either that or he's sat there for a fortnight on it and just gone. Why not? You know, you want to make the world, this is the World Championships. World Champions, that's the practice you put in.
Yeah, of course. These guys are playing, if you are just joining us and you're wondering, you know, what these guys playing for is a place at the grand final, which will be held at the Speedmachine Festival at Silverstone on the 26th of May. And I mean, it's a fantastic prize, the opportunity to race a real rallycross car of their own. So everything to play for here. We're going into our second stage of a rally now. Yeah. We're moving into Wales. Gentlemen, take it away. It's all up to the Oscara boys to take it home.
It certainly is. You're getting a little look at the scenery here, and as we said last time out, in fact, I think we're seeing off the line and into the stage Billy Cherokee we ride on board with, who has been P2 in both the first two disciplines, and this is a mega commit for the road. But note the different weather conditions. Now, you'd think that the mist last time was harder, but Luke, with the trees and the sunlight in and out, the visibility's now a premium. Yeah.
For me, it's a lot more difficult. You know, you're easier to miss your braking zones. It's a lot easier to miss the impression of a corner on your eyes. I think it's a lot more difficult here with the sun. You can see it visually on screen. It's tough for us to see the corners, which means it's very tough for these guys on
If I'm playing these stages at home with the trees, you end up shutting the curtains in the room. So because the light levels in the room need to be dark, so that when you go into a dark section, watch here, this would be a 3 left, and it is. So that's the note again, where you get the 5 left and the 3 left, and you have to make sure that you get the corner right. So if you don't know what we're talking about in pace notes, get practicing on Dirt 4 and you get a good idea. But basically, most people in this game use the 6 fastest. So a 6 right is a 6th gear right-hander. A 3 right like that would be a 3rd gear right-hander. So it gives you an idea. And the notes are coming thick and fast. Yeah, great. This is a great run. Unipe now we're with, but it's Billy Cherokee who looks like he's leading, but Luke couldn't be closer. Could it on the left-hand side?
Oh, it's unbelievable here. All 6 drivers here are in the hunt to win this event, and you know, obviously there's a few guys here that really do need the points. It's not only Oscaro, Billy Cherokee, and obviously by Unipe by the looks of things, but looks like G2 Topper and Nesta are struggling at this point. And actually, Oscaro Alexandru is looking really good in 3rd.
Impressive indeed. Look at this light and dark effect, like we said. It makes it even harder to pick out the objects at the side of the road too. So where you might spot a rock, let's say it was flat light, so you know, rain conditions where you haven't got the shadows from the trees, you might spot a don't cut, or you might even spot a cut a mile off, somewhere where you can get a little bit of extra time by hooking 2 wheels over the edge. When you've got the light and the shade like this, it's very hard to pick out those things at the side of the road. And that's true to life. That's what it's like.
This has been a very fascinating stage here. So we've seen, obviously, through the trees, through the forest here, very difficult conditions. But when they've got out into the moors, into the open, it's been a case of uphill corners where it's just blind exits all the time.
Luke, trouble for G2 Topa. So G2 Topa is out the back of this group of people we know needed a good result here. G2 Nesta as well, we can see down in P5. Nesta still stands a chance, I think, of grabbing possibly up to 3rd place. While it does look like it's Billy Cherokee and Unipe who are out front, and those 2 guys are so close. But G2 Topa looks to be the first person to have blinked in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen him in the flesh this week. I've seen him win a Rallycross Championship on Project Cars 2, and it's difficult to be one of the world's best at any game, let alone multiple games. And unfortunately, I think this is one competition just too far for him.
And you said he qualified, I believe, for the Formula 1 World Championship, which of course is another brilliant Codemasters title. So, you know, I mean, this guy's across all the games.
Yeah, he's won World Championship races in iRacing as well. He's an incredible talent, but you know, it's not just so much the actual competition. He's just been into travelling as well. He would have had minimal time to practice, and it's showing here right now.
Unip on the left, Billy Cherokee on the right, both Oscaro drivers. It is super close between them, as you can see the corner tightens. So at the moment, leading on the right, Billy Cherokee. We're talking by a couple of tenths of a second, but he makes a mistake there, runs himself a tiny bit wide. Not enough for Unip to catch up quite yet, but again, pick a reference point. So find somewhere on the left or the right. It's harder in Wales, and again, so into the shade, and I reckon it's a second and a half at the minute.
About a second and a half, absolutely.
Not a lot between them. One mistake and this could be over. Maybe Billy Cherokee here, you know, we're saying mistakes. You could be saying risks. He's taken a few risks here to try and beat Unip, and he needs to be, well, I mean, of course, the two of them are in the box seats. They actually don't need to take the risks, but you know, it would be nice, wouldn't it, to nick one more point off your teammate and put yourself one more point out of reach of those behind.
It would work out for the team a lot better, obviously, having those both have an extra little bit of a buffer there. Billy Cherokee does take it. Unip is going to finish in second spot there, and I think it's going to be a 1-2-3 here for Team Oscaro. Unbelievable from that French team.
We're with G2 Topa, who we know's made a mistake somewhere on the stage because he's dropped out the back. I'm pretty sure we saw G2 Nesta finishing in P5 as well, so hasn't gone quite according to plan for those guys. And I think they're going to struggle now to make it. So I think it's actually going to be about which of, you know, Scott Unip and Billy Cherokee, I think, are our favourites for this, having taken a 1-2. Oh, and an off after the line. Unip, Billy Cherokee is saying a 1-2 in all the disciplines so far. They are in the best position now to be under the least pressure in the last Rallycross race. But, you know, we're going to get those points together and we'll try and figure out who's doing what.
Yeah, no surprise to see maybe Topa, you know, having an unfortunate circumstances towards the end. Those G2 guys, they had to force the pace there, didn't they? They had to take those risks.
Absolutely.
And a small mistake like that, it can cost you. I mean, here are the, you know, there's the leaderboard from the last stage of the rally. Of course, Billy Cherokee taking home the #1 spot there with Unip behind him. No surprise there to see those two on top after what we saw in the first two stages in the race. But, I mean, they really have separated them from the field here. And I'm looking slightly further ahead, you know, bar a miracle here in the Rallycross and something, you know, preposterous happening for these drivers. I mean, you have to say at the moment, from what we've seen from them, they have to be two of your favourites maybe for that first ever Dirt World Championship.
Oh, without a doubt. They look just unstoppable right now. But as the nature is with Rallycross, or indeed Rally, it just takes one mistake and everything can go to pieces.
That's very, very true. We will get into our Rallycross very soon as well. A great way to always finish. Love the excitement that the Rallycross does bring us, but we're about to get into that in a few moments from now. But I mean, I want to talk about the Xbox and the PC section, and how obviously on the PC we are seeing that level of competition. We talked about it a little bit last week, but obviously we have so many more players in general playing on the PC. I mean, that level of competition is going to be there just for that volume of players, and you can really see how good these players have to be to separate themselves from the field. And I've been so impressed so far by these Oscaro drivers. They really have separated themselves, not only from the players on the PC, for the console as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's interesting is I didn't think they separated themselves so much last time out in the quarterfinals.
No.
So,
definitely.
you know,
I agree.
Is that a practice thing between the two, or have the stages more to their liking? You know, you're the gamer. What's your thoughts on it? Do you think they've been off practicing like hell? You make the semi-finals, you should.
Yeah, I guess maybe they've got to the quarterfinals and they've kind of maybe assumed, oh, we're the top
good.
boys here. There's not much competition on all these platforms. And suddenly the PC guys around them were like, wow, they are strong. This is a strong, strong set of guys around us. We actually may need to practice. Probably put in the hours this time, and it's obviously showing. They've done something. They've changed something, because they've really improved a hell of a lot. Especially Unip. Unip is a different human. He was quick last time, but now he's just like 60th. He's beyond 60th yard quick.
I think you summed it up best when you said, you know, in the quarterfinals he wasn't going into our semi-finals. Now he wasn't a name probably we were going, you know, he's going to be our favourite going into the PC section here, but he's just been phenomenal. He's been phenomenal. I think you said it. He's been almost flawless, and we're about to get into our final race of the day. Final race of the PC section, and we're going back over to Sweden now. But Rallycross is going to be a great way to end this. But it's a real opportunity also here. We've seen the Oscaro guys separate themselves, gentlemen, but a real opportunity maybe for some other drivers here just to make a name for themselves, to have a strong finish here, and maybe put themselves in contention next time we come around.
Yeah, I'm frantically doing the maths here, trying to figure it out. We've got an off at the first corner, which is an absolute disaster for somebody. So who's gone off in turn one?
3 jokers on that one, by the way.
Yeah.
Alexandra does take the lead here, though.
So yeah, it's Bottas, Alexandru Bottas for Ascaro, who is leading. Looking at the liveries, Billy Cherokee with the purple livery in the background is making a move for P2. So Billy Cherokee, who we know is one of the absolute front runners, making a move up the inside. The white livery, I'm not quite sure who that is. Ascaro, Billy Cherokee trying to go round the outside on the run up to the
G2 Topper.
So Topper here desperately trying and make a way back up, but a bit of contact on the jump landing.
He's off on his gravel.
And he's
Game
pushed
over.
himself out wide. So how many places does he lose? He's now under pressure big time. Topper is under pressure in the background, runs the car across the gravel, compromises his speed on the way up into the crest in the background. Topper, is it going to go backwards? Somehow he's holding on to that position. Is he going to now lose it in the so we're kind of spectating in the background, yeah, but Billy Cherokee here is right up behind Alexandru Bottas. So it's only Alexandru Bottas is currently, is he leading or is he P2? We need to see a forward
he is
view
leading
to
this
try
race.
and see how many
He
cars
has
are
to
in
get
front.
6 points, and he's got to hope that, Billy Cherokee, he's doing pretty well here, but he's got to hope that, of course, Unip makes a big mistake here and he can get through.
Okay, so I'm looking at standings in front of me, and for me, Unip and Billy Cherokee, remember, this has to be confirmed, but I think their points are too far, Luke, looking at this. Even if they were to come 5th and 6th, I don't think it can be overhauled by Veloce Isa, who is currently in P3. So it's 8 points to Veloce Isa. Ascaro Billy Cherokee is on 16, and Ascaro Unip is on 17. Remember, it's 6 for the win. So basically, these guys here can do a bit of showboating, but an absolutely mega performance, and looking forward to seeing the rest of this race.
Did you just see that joker by Billy Cherokee? Jesus, that was unbelievable. He almost caught up coming out of the joker there, back up into the lead here, who is, as we have said, Alexandru. And now he's right up behind him already after 1 lap.
So Alexandru then is going to need an absolutely mint joker, isn't he, to get that back. Interestingly, they're not using much curb, are they, over the crest? Watch here again, you must get the car to the apex here, then wind the lock off and get the throttle on. So Alexandru taking quite a defensive line up the inside. You can try and run around the outside there, but probably compromise your traction down towards this section. But it's the first section, and Billy Cherokee's on a flyer here, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see there that they're both maximising the limits of this track, just catching the barrier there into that hairpin to try and get as wide as possible, carry as much speed into that corner. And you can see he is not jokering yet, but Billy Cherokee's got this all day, every day.
Absolutely, even with a perfect joker lap. I mean, you know, you said it yourself, but when he did a great joker, runs himself a bit wide, mistake from Billy Cherokee, has to gather it up. He'll lose a bit of time here, and you can see there's a couple of car lengths in between them.
Only he can lose this race now. Only he can lose it for himself at this point.
So we're looking for Alexandru in the green car in front, his joker lap, and I think it's going to be on this one. Lands the car sideways. He's going to use that rotation to get it turned in. Billy Cherokee's going to know here that if he can get the car stopped and into turn 1, look at them, both using the grass on the right. Watch for the joker split here. And off he goes. So in, pitches the car in, up and over the crest. Look to your right. Billy Cherokee is going to hold this as he comes through. Fantastic job. Great joker lap, though, to be fair, by Alexandru Bottas as well, who was under severe pressure there.
It's about 7/10 of a second delta through the joker there, and if you can really nail it, you maybe gain half a tenth, I guess, over the course of a race. Billy Cherokee, we was on board with him through his joker lap, and that's what's won him this race here. Although he was held up by his teammate, and you can see he is just pulling away here as we go and leave this corner. The Constantina effect makes it look like he's catching up. But yeah, it's been a very, very good performance there by our man from Ascaro here.
Looks like it. Is that Ascaro Unip there trying to make a move on Topper down towards the finish? I think it was. So was that? Well, that wasn't a great result, but I think with the hard work already done, I can see a result in front of me. Okay, Unip did get P3, so no, yeah, my bad. So Unip with P3, but I think that's going to mean actually that Billy Cherokee is going to be the winner of this group with 2 firsts and 2 seconds compared to 2 firsts for Unip, and then it was a second and then a third in this one. So yeah, it is Ascaro Billy Cherokee with the win in the second rallycross race, who will move to the top of the point standings for this one. And those 2 guys, subject to the official results coming through, are going to go through.
Yeah, congratulations to those guys. As we say, just waiting for the official results to come through. But what performance from all of the Ascaro drivers across all of the formats we've just seen there. Billy Cherokee, I mean, excuse me, there is a fantastic performance. To take home on that joker, we were talking about the joker lap and how impressive that was. Just break it down for some of the newer viewers who might be wondering why that was so impressive.
Well, it's a very, very tough joker lap to get in because you have to go over a crest. You have to settle the car to get yourself through the joker. You know, you have to almost you have to settle your car so it's straight forward into the Joker, but you then need to go sideways. It's too hard to explain, to be honest. You have to feel it and just do it.
You want to get the car basically straight for the exit, but the whole of the Joker lap into that point, the car is loaded and you're decelerating as you come through the corner. So you get the car straight, hopefully you're pointing out. There's then a barrier on the left-hand side, and in fact, in real life, we often see people sideways with the car and they'll just clatter the barrier with the rear left. Sometimes that's enough to keep the car straight. Occasionally, it will spin you back round. But the Joker lap, you only do it once of 6. So if you nail the Joker lap on the one lap you go through, you're doing well.
See, I need to write that down because next time someone asks me, that's what I wanted to say. But next time someone asks me, I can nail it.
Well, that was all for the PC section. Apologies for me choking there. It was the racing that just took my breath away. But we're going to go away very quickly. We're going to make sure that we got all the results right and ready for you guys. We'll have the PC results when we get back. And, of course, when we get back, we will have the PlayStation 4 to come.
can't hide it. I need to let it be free. I don't know how you're gonna take to it, but if you understand just a little bit, oh, follow me, show a burning desire. Follow me, set your heart on fire. Follow me, take your love, take your love. Follow me, high above, high above. It's like I'm coming home alive again. Never felt so good since way back when. Fill me up, I'm breathing in clear air. This is contagious, something I've got to share. Follow me, show a burning desire. Follow me, set your heart on fire. Follow me, take your love, take your love. Follow me, high above, high above. There's a feeling building inside of me. I can't hide it. I'm gonna set it free.
I've been told that you can make the mold of what you want to be, so stay true to me. I've been told that you can make the mold of what you want to be, so stay true to me. I've been told that you can make the mold of what you want to be, so stay true to me. Well, I've been told that you can make the mold of what you want to be.
Here we are then, ladies and gentlemen. The semi-finals are almost complete. We have the PlayStation 4 to come, but these are the replays from the PC that we just saw. We have our two qualifiers, and I believe it is the Oscara guys who have made it through. Some fantastic driving from both of those players. It's Billy Cherokee who takes home the first spot, and Unipi who takes home the second spot for our grand final. So we now have 4 grand finalists sitting there waiting to get to the Speedmachine Festival and obviously all the festivities that go around that. My name is Mark Hatcher. I'm going to be hosting the final leg today of the PlayStation 4, the Dirt World Championships. Joining me, of course, as always, we have Andrew Coley. One of your highlights from today, just very quickly, what you've seen so far?
Domination of 60th yard, I think, on Xbox is pretty good, and then domination of the Oscara boys, basically on the second platform on PC. You know, I don't know what you think, Luke, but it hasn't been that close to the P3 man so far.
No, it's been, yeah, we expected there to be battles for the top 2 positions, but there's always been 2 guys that have, or 3 guys, I guess, battling for the top 2. So yeah, it's been a bit disappointing in that sense. But yeah, my highlights have been obviously Team Oscara's domination on the PC was phenomenal, but that performance at Lydden Hill by Unipi, I won't forget that for a long time. That was, like I said at the time, it wasn't just it was special. That was a genuinely special performance.
Well, we've had our Xbox, we've had our PC players already playing. Now it's time for the PlayStation 4. And let's have a quick look back on exactly what happened last time we had all these players here in the quarterfinals. Gentlemen, again, very similar to the other console, the Xbox, and some of the driving that we saw. And there wasn't any particularly clear favourites, but, I mean, the man, Zombie Slayer, he had some incredible performances.
Yeah, he did. We saw some good racing both again at Norway and at France, using 2 different rallycross tracks for this time out for the semi-finals. Of course, been using the RX2 car as well, but I think we can expect more of the same. There it was. It was Oscar and Nicholas. Okay, so I don't know if that's the same names as Zombie Slayer that was there in P4. Ibiza Shooter you mentioned as well, Luke, but Shooter fairly close across the points there. If you look, it was only 5 points between P1 and P6 going through. So having said that, we expected the PC to be extremely close because the level of talent was very high on that platform, and in fact we saw total domination by the 2 Oscaro drivers. So I mean, it was 22 points to Billy Cherokee and 21 to Unip. Bottas was in third place on 13, so it was quite a big gap back.
Well, let's double check the format for today. If you're just joining us, welcome along. Let's show you exactly how the semi-finals do work. We start off with a stage of rally, then we move straight into rallycross for 6 laps, then we go back over for another stage of rally, and then finally all of the action comes down to that rallycross, that race at the end. 6 laps of pure action, and it has been very exciting today, gentlemen, getting down to those final races. I mean, the PC a little bit different. We saw those two obviously dominate the first 3 sections of the racing, and they really separated themselves. But on the Xbox, it really did come down to that final race for those final spots.
Yeah, it did indeed. It's good to see. I think it'd be very similar here on the PlayStation. They're all very similar levels, I'd say. You might see a couple of them who weren't quite so quick last time be a lot quicker. We've seen a few people have genuinely practiced for this event. So, you know, we may see a couple of surprise names, but I feel like we've got to be looking at Zombie Slayer here. I know he came 4th last time, but I feel like he is the class of the field.
I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to perform. As you say, 4th place last time, but in the qualifiers, you know, he was top of the leaderboards a lot of the time and really did put in some strong performances. But it's a very strong field here. You know, every single player in this lobby has come from, as you say, thousands of people. We're now down to the last 6, but it's only 2 spots available. And I don't think we can stress that enough. Like, out of the thousands for every single console, just 2 spots available for that Speedmachine Festival to find your way there, to find your way into our grand final, to battle it out for that first ever title of the Dirt World Champion. I mean, it's all on the line now. All these 6 players have had the opportunity to sit there and watch the Xbox players, watch the PC players. Is there anything they could have taken away from watching those previous races and stages from the rally that they can maybe put into their own game going forward?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they could be looking at things, and, you know, certainly if they've seen Unip's run at Lydden Hill in the RX2 car, they'll know that they need to put in a perfect run there if they want to get a performance in like that. But for me, they're the guys who've been waiting the longest to go, and I think the waiting is one of the hardest parts.
It definitely is. We're about to load into our first stage of rally. We're going over to America now, gentlemen. We really are going worldwide today. We're going over to Michigan, so over to you, gentlemen, our first stage of the rally.
So Michigan then, we're riding on board with Malcolm off the line. For me, Michigan is one of the places where you can take the biggest risks in terms of any of the rallying. And I think you'd agree, Luke, you know, that progressively through the game, the stages kind of get harder, don't they, if you play it in career mode. You don't come like Wales and Sweden until a bit later in the game, and some of the tutorials are on these stages here. Now, that's not to say they're easy, but it means that the risks you can take to gain time, I think, are a lot bigger. So we can maybe look to see that.
Yeah, absolutely, it is the first place you do go to on the game with this rally career mode. But on the flip side, you can take a lot of risks here. You can cut a lot of places on track, but there are big rocks sometimes on the inside of the corner, so you can get caught out. So you don't want to take too many risks. You kind of want to be a bit more calculated. And obviously, these would not have done this stage before. So knowing where the rocks are and where the rocks aren't may be a bit of trouble for them.
Randomly generated. There's a few signposts as well, which you'll find on the exits of these. Again, they'll get those in their pace notes, you know, stay tight, or sign outside, post outside, that kind of thing. But and there's 1 or 2 places too, which I think if you look again at your depth of field of vision in the background, sometimes you can get what I was talking about earlier, something which is a bit deceptive. Yeah, you listen to the note, you think you've got it, and actually you're on the brakes too late, you've gone in a little bit too deep. So the quick stuff there, that again, banks on either side, you can get right out to those banks. Nicely done there. So we're on board with Oscaro Quinto at the moment.
Zombie Slayer, they're currently out in the lead of this rally stage. And as you can see, we touched on it with the previous PC guys, that with this sun up in the air there through the trees, it does make it a lot more difficult here. As much as this is maybe the easiest venue to do your rally stages, those trees, and obviously with the shadows on the track, your braking zones become different all the time because of you having things played. Your mind's having tricks played on it. My mind's having tricks playing it right now. I'm struggling here.
You're all good.
Yeah.
You're all good. Oscar Quinto with a couple of moments there where either he's using every inch of the road and a bit more, as we've seen, you know, some cuts on either side, or possibly running himself again a little bit deep in a couple of the corners. Yeah, only he's going to know that, because it wasn't what I would call a significant mistake. It was one of those things where so that's a deliberate cut, and it works really well. What we saw a moment ago maybe wouldn't have gained quite so much time and smacked of maybe a slight rescue move. But again, look at the cut on the left-hand side. Now you can't make a cut, and there are places in this game where you'll be making a cut and then suddenly that bank you can see on the left there will appear in front of you and you've got it all wrong. Likewise, you can be exiting a corner carrying a lot of speed, knowing you're going to use some of that runoff on the outside of the road. You find a bank there and that's it, you've binned it. But okay, and moving into the lead now is Jose M29CR. So Jose M29CR is out at the front.
He says he's from Colombia in the game, but he's not, is he?
No, he's not. He tweeted us.
Yeah.
He did, yeah.
He's from Costa Rica, is it right?
He is from Costa Rica, but there's no Costa Rica flag. There you go. Well done, Luke. We promised that, didn't we?
Yeah, we
We've
did.
actually delivered. So, yeah, so from Costa Rica, and we'll have a word at Codemasters. I'll tell you what, if he makes it through to the World Championships, I think Codemasters should put a Costa Rica flag in. I know they're up in the gallery. They'll be cursing me now.
Yeah.
There's probably someone else's flag's got to get deleted for that. But if he makes the World Championship final, currently leading, but that is so close, Luke.
Yeah, well, you see Zombie Slayer was leading and has dropped off here, so he's made a mistake somewhere. You can see we were watching Quinto, he looked really, really quick and was making no mistakes. So how quick are Zombie Slayer right now going? And Jose's made a big, big mistake here now. He's now down into second spot. Zombie Slayer's taken a real, massive advantage.
Must have gone off the road. Must have gone off the road to move down there, but somehow has managed to rescue it. P2, Luke, won't be too bad. And we saw earlier on, didn't we, somebody made a mistake on the first platform. We saw the roll, landed back on the wheels. Yes, you lose a place, but hopefully, you know, he'll be gutted when if he misses out by 1 point, as we see Malcolm runs wide, and that was exactly what I was talking about. That's one of the 3 right corners there. Just run a little bit too wide, and the runoff had a tree in it, and that put him off the side of the road. Zombie Slayer with the tank slapper on the exit there.
That could cost
from
him
the water splash. It's going to be super close between them.
Is he just about going to do it? I think he is. Yes, he is. He was so close there between him and...
Yeah, but who's in P2? I'm not sure whether or not we've had, whether or not Jose has dropped further back down the order. We'll have to wait until we see the timing screens at the end, but I wonder if there was another mistake there, because I thought his name was shadowed underneath Zombie Slayer. We see another mistake there from Malcolm coming in P6 on this one. But interesting, let's, we'll have to wait, as I say, until we see. And another off. Well, he knows now, doesn't he? It's end of the race, so he's going to get 1 point either way. Zombie Slayer we're seeing with a first position.
The car manufacturer.
No, that's it. He's got some big bills to pay there. There's going to be some serious credits coming out of his account there, 100%.
I mean, we saw almost flawless racing from the PC drivers, from the Xbox drivers. PlayStation give us some excitement, though. I mean, incredible racing across the board and very close between all the players, but
I've just seen the results.
That man once again at the top.
Results. Jose dropped down to P5, and between P2 and P5 was only 4 seconds. I'm sure you'll get a look at that in a moment. But
Zombie Slayer had a 4-second penalty as well, and he still won it.
So that's a car recovery. So it was Oscar Quinto who got through to P2. Niklas Olsen, you can see, was in P3. Avitha Shooter was 4. Jose M29CR, a big mistake and possibly a second one there, which dropped him down the order. But 4:15.7, look down there to 4:19.8. You're looking at 4.1 seconds was the difference between second and fifth. And that is the difference between 5 points and 2. And that's what's crucial here. Of course, points at every stage of this semi-final. And that's a little bit unfortunate there. I'm feeling a little bit sorry for Jose M29 there.
But exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, he had a fantastic, first 2/3 of that race, and it was just towards the end where the pressure starts coming in a little bit more. He's feeling those 6 points coming home.
Maybe he's listening, heard us say about the whole Costa Rica thing. He's like, oh my God,
true.
they did it, yeah!
They're going to put my flag in the game.
No, crashed.
Blame Luke. Sorry. It's Luke's fault.
His name's Andrew.
Was it?
Yeah.
Luke's fault still.
Anyway, for that.
That was a very exciting rally. Obviously, all these drivers were really pushing it to the limits there. Some slight, mistakes made by some of the drivers. But again, it sets us up nicely, moving into our rallycross now. And it's going to be, if that was anything to go by, this rallycross is going to be carnage.
I don't think we've necessarily got a form guide. That's one thing you can take away from this maybe is, we saw guys there at the front. We saw a roll from the guy who's actually won it with a vehicle recovery at least. We saw Jose M29 was right up there and has made a mistake then, which has dropped him down. Oscar Quinto, we can have a look on board here. We might see some of those on boards that we saw as well. We were on board with Malcolm when he made one of his mistakes. And you're not always on board at the moment that it happens. So this was Malcolm. This would be one of. This was the 3 right, and you can see clips the rear quarter, and that then spins the front of the car around. But by that point, you could see he was already towards the back.
Oh, well
this was the massive moment. Yeah, it was really well held by Zombie Slayer, and that again is where you say down a gear on the way into the water, because then on the exit of the water you can get on the gas, which will pull the car straight. Malcolm by then,
twice, exactly the same.
Possibly carrying a puncture. We don't know. Of course, we didn't sit on board long enough. One of the things you can get in the game is you can get a puncture if you have a big contact there. So.
Well, these players are fighting out for the final 2 spots at our grand final, which will be held at the Speedmachine Festival at Silverstone. If you're wondering what the Speedmachine Festival is, don't worry about it. We've got you covered. Take a look at this. There you go. If there's not something that tickles your fancy from what you've just seen there, then the esports will definitely do that for us. Speedmachine Festival, of course, will be where the grand finals is held from the 25th to the 27th of May. Just 2 more spots available, guys. I feel you could almost feel the palpable pressure on the racers in that rally we just saw. Obviously, we've already got our Xbox sorted, done, dusted. We've got our PC players sorted, done, dusted. Now it's down to the PlayStation 4 players to obviously get those last 2 spots. A lot of pressure on the line. They want to be there. Well, they want to be part of the Speedmachine Festival. Now we're moving into our first rallycross. Obviously, we've seen some back and forth between the drivers already. I mean, they're struggling to avoid trees. Put a few cars on the track. It's going to be interesting to watch.
I think the thing to remember here is the 2 Oscaro drivers who were in the PC section had it tied up in 3 rounds. So they did the rallycross, the rallycross, and a rally, and it was tied up. They had it done. So even if they'd come last, and neither of them did, in fact, they were that good, they wouldn't have not made it. So, okay, we've had 1 round here, but it's been a bit upside down, literally, in some people's cases. There's 3 rounds still to go. You know, in theory, if one of these guys has got the pace to get out there and absolutely smash it in all 3 of these, this is wide open for the last 2 spots.
Yeah, I think the only player who kind of separated themselves, even with that 4-second penalty that we're talking about, is obviously Zombie Slayer. Again, took home that 1st place in the rally. Definitely going to be a player to keep an eye on. He's going to want to book his grand final tickets there. But that 2nd place, I mean, I couldn't pick a player in the field at the moment. It just seems like everyone is, you know, going all out for that 2nd place. Zombie Slayer obviously can't make mistakes as well, but it looks like we're almost getting into our first rallycross here. We're going back to Lydden Hill, your favourite track, Andrew, and we're going to see some real action going down here.
It's a really committed track, and it will be hard for these guys to get in the kind of performance that we saw from UniP on PC. You know, if someone can do that, then they could really knock this out of the park. But this is a tough place to be quick in any car, in real life and in the game. You know, it's committed, and the smallest of errors is going to see you clip a barrier at the side of the road. We've got a couple of places here where you can gain time by taking risks, but if you get it wrong, it's absolutely definitely over.
Well, we've already seen an example of that in the first rally. You know, our man Jose there, he was putting in a fantastic performance. 1 little slip up towards the end, and it's cost him, you know, 4 points.
Yeah,
he was in 2nd place, and 4 points across those 4 the 4 races and rallies that we have is a massive amount. And you know, it really come back to bite him. That Costa Rica flag that we were getting so hyped about might be a little bit further away than he was thinking.
That's now been added to the prize pool.
Exactly. But now we're getting into our rallycross. As you can see here, we're going over to Lydden Hill. You were talking about how it's a very committed track. All of these players have already shown fantastic commitment in that first rally, gentlemen. So I'm looking forward to this one.
It's all about turn 1 here, isn't it?
Let's get this one underway.
Turn 1,
We've seen a couple of people mugged. We've seen people take effective jokers. To turn 1, lap 1, it's going to be fireworks, I think.
Okay, so we are away from the start already. Zombie Slayer on the inside line of the standard lap, and it looks to me like possibly 4 players of joking in the background because we can't see any of them. So 4 players, and maybe 2 of them had a very bad start or are coming together on the braking zone, but Zombie Slayer is out front, held it tight on the inside of Cheston's Drift, and that was where we saw a couple of people get mugged in earlier runs, Luke. So tidy job by him, and now he's going to be looking to do what UniP did, which is to get in some absolutely mega laps, try and gap these guys, and I reckon he'll probably wait to joker right till the end of the race.
He's using the track limits just as well as UniP did. It must be something to do with the blue car, because they have the same, well, very, very similar liveries here. You can say using a little bit more curb there out of on the start-finish straight here. You've got the guy in 2nd place, Joker.
He too jokered straight away, so that may be to cover off. If we didn't see, if unseen, there was a problem for some of the guys in the background, but in fact he's going to get done by a couple of people.
No, he's come out behind him, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's come out in P4, so we're not quite sure who's jokered and who hasn't. You'll have to forgive us for that in the background. But and there's somebody who's having an absolute nightmare up at the hairpin. So Zombie Slayer coming around to lap somebody on the second lap, and that might explain what happened in turn 1, because we were looking back from Zombie Slayer, who's now going to have to come across. Okay, so through and in towards the corner at the bottom.
He's taken
turned in early. Turned in really early. Interesting. So miles off the back there.
So now he's lost the momentum here. Do you joker from that point?
No, I think at the minute, certainly if you look at and looking at the fact that the guy behind him jokered and slotted himself back in 4th place, you need to stay out. So this is what we were talking about last week. Do you react to the other player or the other racer's joker laps basically on the basis you think they're faster than you, or do you stay out and try to edge them? So he's going to stay out. He's hoping he's a couple of tenths a second a lap quicker. Give it 6 laps. When you take the joker, you've got enough of a buffer to make it through. He's using a handbrake for turning up at the top there. We've seen other people doing that. I don't think he's quite so tidy through there as we saw from Unip. But interestingly here, I wonder if they're using the grass to get a bit more rotation on the car on turn-in as well, because obviously less grip on the grass, you get it turned in and away. So I think he's going to wait until the last lap to joker right the way out to the barrier, look for the tarmac on the inside, hooks a wheel on it, that'll allow him to get on the gas a bit earlier.
A bit more traction, don't you, there? You can get out the corner a lot quicker.
There's our stranded car. I'm struggling to see who that is. It looks, I think it might be Jose. So we've got a red and blue livery, which we saw just for a second there ghosted on the car, which we think is now a lap and a half, 2 laps down. So he probably does have a puncture. I think it might be Jose, which is a real shame if it is, because, yeah, great lad who was going great guns in the first rally. But
yeah, it gave us a bit of banter on Twitter. He was all happy with how it's going as well. So
yeah, it was nice actually to see some of the players getting in touch on social media as well after the event, you know, who were stoked to have made it through, and, you know, it was all getting pretty real. And we're going to see some of those guys. This is P2, Oscaro Quinto.
And another Oscaro guy.
Looking forward. So has Oscaro Quinto jokered or not? Because at the minute, for me, they're within shouting distance of Zombie Slayer here. So we're on board with Oscaro Quinto. It might be nice to stay here and just see what happens in terms of the joker lap in front. Then we can watch for the merge as well.
We saw 4 joker, and then we've seen 2nd place joker. So the only person who has not jokered is Zombie
the leader.
Slayer,
in which case, I think Oscaro Quinto could be on for the win here, because the joker lap deficit here is quite high. He's going to need a mega joker lap to get this done. So on board with Oscaro Quinto. I reckon we've got a lap left. Don't hit the curbs on the left. You can hit the curbs on the right. Zombie Slayer goes joker. This is what it's all about. On board with Oscaro Quinto into the right-hand side. Look to your left. There's Zombie Slayer. Too slow on the exit. Oscaro Quinto's got the job done. Absolutely fantastic. Slots into 2nd place. Zombie Slayer looking at the dust of Oscaro Quinto in front of Oscaro. Now got to keep it tidy. And in the background, you see he runs over the curbs in a desperate attempt to try and make ground up. Luke, great job here by Oscaro Quinto.
Oh, superb job. I took the joker on the first lap here, as we saw, and he's looking very, very good here. He's making sure that he's got no dirt on his windscreen there with the windscreen wipers going off. Horrendous weather for him, obviously, but he has come here, he has conquered, and it's Team Oscaro again who are going to pick up yet another win here for the Dirt 4 World Championships.
Great job.
Unbelievable stuff. Oscaro got to be feeling right now. Management have got to be feeling pretty happy with their picks and who the players they've picked up.
How good was he there? Because Zombie Slayer looked really strong. We were on board with him for pretty much the whole race there, and he looked incredibly quick. And yet he still finished in 2nd, so Quinto must have had an unbelievable race.
If you look, we did say, you know, and this isn't to take anything away, these are the best, you know, these are the best Dirt 4 drivers in the world. Zombie Slayer, it was a great run. It was, but it wasn't quite as good as Oscaro Quinto, and we saw how perfect Unip's run was to take the win when he was here. And I think you'll find that possibly Oscaro Quinto was doing a Unip in the background, unseen by us. So Zombie Slayer, great. Look at the difference. It's nothing. It's 0.8 of a second. It's the difference between P1 and P2. You know, that we're talking about, you know, 1.5 a lap. So it's absolutely stunning drive for Oscaro Quinto to take the win here in Rallycross.
Yeah, I mean, he's given himself a real opportunity. Picking up those points, as you say, gives him a little bit of more comfort going into this 3rd stage of rally now, 2nd stage of the PS4 leg. But, I mean, Zombie Slayer, I know he didn't obviously take home the win there, but it's 5 more points in the bag. It's 5 more points to add to that 6 points. That's 11 points, quick math for you there. And that's going to just give him a little bit more confidence going into our next stage of rally. Maybe doesn't have to push it quite as hard as he was previously. Can give himself a little bit of a buffer.
I think you're absolutely spot on there. You know, he's the only one who's really stood out today so far at the halfway point. So he's taken that opportunity. If he gets maybe even a 3rd in this next stage, the next rally stage, he could look really strong to go through.
Interestingly, I've got the scores here already, so the adjudication's been done. So tidy racing from these guys, not to see any mistakes between them, but 11 points to Zombie Slayer and 11 points to Oscaro Q. So those two guys must have had equal results on each. It will be a win and and a second each, of course, because 12 points would be 2 wins. So I say Zombie Slayer and Oscaro Q, basically Oscaro Quinto, sorry, are on 11 points each, which I'm noting down here right now in front of you because I need to write stuff down to remember it. And we've got 2 to go. And behind them, I mean, Niklas Olsen, 7 points. So Olsen is the one who's most likely to be able to chase them down. You've got Ibiza Shooter on 4, Jose 29 is on 4, and Malcolm is on 5 points, it's looking like there. So I think, yeah, Malcolm and Niklas Olsen in particular on 7 points is close enough to maybe make it, but 2 strong favourites.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, he's close enough to form a challenge at this point. He's going to be the one that we're going to have to watch going into this stage of rally. If he can put in a big performance here, maybe put the pressure on these 2 drivers who are sat at the top. If he can steal a first or second away, it really does put it all onto that final rallycross, because the points are close enough now that we don't know. It's not like we're back on the PC and it was pretty much settled by now. You know, we knew who was going to be, you know, at least challenging for those top 2 spots. There's 3 drivers here who could all make it to that DiRT World Championship finals. I mean, it couldn't be closer, really.
Do you know what, as well? Let's say Jose, who was leading the rally until he had the shunt. So, you know, 6 points for this rally stage.
Yeah.
He's on 4 now. The leaders are on
10.
11. Let's say one of them has an absolute shocker and gets a 1. He's on 12. Jose's on 10. This is not
Anything can happen in rallycross if it comes down to a showdown.
Rallycross, that's why it's mega.
Yeah, it is mega.
It is mega.
I feel sorry for that guy, man. Like,
we
were getting high. He's like, yeah, you know,
commentator,
Costa Rica.
sorry, Jose. Come on, win it on this one.
The pride of the nation on his shoulders, and then,
Go on, let's
and then
go for it.
unfortunately, things didn't quite go his way. But we're moving into our second stage of rally. We're going back over to Wales now, gentlemen. And I mean, we talked about how this can be one of the tracks that separates the men from the boys. Is that going to be the case here?
I think it will be, and look at the weather again. So it looks like we've got bright sunshine for this, which means we're going to see the same as we saw last time out on the PC platform, which is big changes, as you can see here with the onboard down on bumper cam, in terms of how much light you've got. Zombie Slayer, who is our joint leader at the minute, on 11 points with a win and a second on the rally stage and the rally around the right-hander. And Luke, again, here we go with that strobe light effect that you get as you come through the shade and the light of the trees.
Well, as you go past some of these corners, you can actually see there's obvious places to cut the track, but it's too late. You can't see it because of the shadows and because of the nature of the undulation. So, you know, he's just got to take it steady here. But Zombie Slayer is one of those drivers we've just discussed, does not have to take any risks here.
No, certainly. So 11 points, and, you know, absolutely right up there. It looks to me like Oscaro Quinto is possibly, is that him in P2? It's hard to see, isn't the name sticking out the end of
No, it's Jose. It's Jose and Zombie Slayer. So
okay, cool. So it's better, but I mean, look how tight it is between the 4. And who is it that's dropped it? Ibiza Shooter has had a problem. So Ibiza Shooter, who was on 4 points as well, looks to have dropped down the order. So it might be the end of the challenge. But as we say, this is probably off the platforms. This is the one where it's least obvious who's going to make it through. So pressure on for these guys. That they're only a couple of sectors into what's quite a long stage in Wales, and we know how hard these roads are.
Yes, it's very unfortunate here for Jose or Jose, however, I'm sure he'll let me know on Twitter how he wants it pronounced. But yeah, he really does need to get the win here. He is neck and neck with Zombie Slayer, but unfortunately he needs one of the top 2, Zombie Slayer being one of them, currently leading this stage, and Oscaro, is it Quinto? Oscaro Quinto, yeah. He needs him to have an absolute stinker, but unfortunately, Ibiza Shooter, who's down in the bottom there, doesn't look like anyone else can have as big a stinker as him right now.
No, certainly. So Olsen, interesting as well. So our man who, Niklas Olsen, you can see, I think he's him down in P5 at the minute.
P4 right now.
Oscaro Quinto, yes it is. Yeah,
Malcolm's
P4,
in
and
P5.
Oscaro Quinto is in P3. So it is out to, well, Zombie Slayer out front, of course. So who's in second place? Jose, okay.
Jose.
So Jose's the guy who really needs this result. And as you say, really, ideally, he wants one of these guys to drop it, and he does.
Oh, there's the mistake by Zombie Slayer. Here we go.
Just what we were saying. That should see Jose into the lead, or has he managed to build up enough of a buffer at that point? You can see it's super close between them, but a mistake
Jose's made a mistake as well, by the way. Jose dropped off. I think they had the same mistake at the same corner here.
Yeah, so that can be then, a part of the game. Occasionally a note, let's say on a very quick section to a very slow section, you sometimes, depending on your settings, will get the note slightly later than you need. Now, I have my notes. I know you, Luke, we discussed this last time. I like my notes quite early. That's a thing from real-life rallying, but you need to know what's coming, particularly in the quick stuff, whereas you prefer to only have the one corner ahead.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you can't tell what weather you're going to have in this competition. So if it was like this, I want them to have a lot earlier because of conditions, as you can see on screen. But
fast, yeah.
That's just wishful thinking at this point. But you've got to feel that Zombie Slayer's looked really, really calm and confident. He made that mistake. He's got to be 50p, 5p right now.
He's absolutely on it. He knows he's made one mistake, but he'll see. Well,
Jose's made another mistake here. Quinto's catching up here.
He'll possibly see, depending on whether or not he's got the ladder on the side of the screen or not, because you just drive and concentrate 100% on the driving, have nothing on your head-up display, or do you have everything around the screen telling you everything that's going on? That's very much a personal preference, and the psychology comes into it a bit.
Some people like to have everything off just for the immersion. These guys competing at this top level, some of them still want to feel really immersed.
I was going to say, at the end of the day, you know, when we were competing in Forest, there's nobody there with a split time for you, I'm afraid, at the national level. It's only the World Championship guys who were getting text messages into the car to tell them what the splits were, you know, so it's, yeah, it is very real to not know. And of course, that's the beauty of rallying, is you don't see the other cars. In Rallycross, you know whether or not you've been, you know, you've been thoroughly done at the first corner. You can see it. But in rallying, it's you against the road and the clock, and so it's much harder to tell what your competitors are doing. Jose's done well, so he's holding on to P2 here. This is exactly what he needs. Zombie Slayer continues to take the odd risk there with the cuts to the side of the road, but a tidy drive so far, other than that one mistake.
Well. Definitely working for him pretty well. I think the only the real poor factor here for Jose is the fact that Quinto is still going to finish in 3rd position. It's only a 1-point difference.
So that puts Zombie Slayer onto 17, and as you say, it's the fact that if Quinto does finish P3, which we think he has.
May have penalties though, we're not sure on that. It still may have penalties, so we'll wait for that to get confirmed for you guys. But yeah, take the provisional victory with Jose from Costa Rica in 2nd spot. And then of course we had Quinto in 3rd. In 4th position, we had our Nicholas Olsen, then we had Malcolm, and then obviously we've got now Ibzi Shooter down in 6th position, coming across the line as we speak.
Rally, gentlemen. I mean, we wanted thrills, we wanted spills, and Zombie Slayer did his best to give it to us, but did manage to keep his composure towards the end there and obviously take that 1st spot. So impressive to see him come back and react to that one. But I mean, it's still all to play for going into this final Rallycross. It's how we would have wanted it to be set up. It's how we've got it set up now. I mean, let's put ourselves on the line here. Who do you see taking that 2nd spot at the end of this Rallycross?
I think, unfortunately, looking at the points from that, I think Jose needed, as you say, Quinto or either of the front 2 guys to have a bit more of a stinker. And I think that the points gap is going to be too much, because I think that even if
it is still just about possible.
Yeah, it's tight.
It's a huge ask right now.
It's tight.
Yeah, there was an important 3rd place finish there for Quinto to just give himself a little bit, you know, a breathing room, as we say, to go into that Rallycross. Knows he doesn't have to take too many chances now. Can kind of just can race his own race simply. He's not particularly racing against anyone. He just needs to make sure that he doesn't make too many mistakes, really, isn't it? It's that sort of mentality he can go into it.
Well, the fact that Zombie Slayer's just gone and won that with it was a double spin, wasn't it? It was a double pirouette.
It
shows that he is
on the brakes,
definitely the class of the field here.
Certainly, and that was what we thought coming into this, wasn't it? So good shout, 100%. But
he only come 4th last time, so it's more of a guess. Stab in the dark, but he's absolutely smashed it.
Now, here are some of the replays from that last stage of rally. And this is going to be, you know, Zombie Slayer, as you say, he has been the class apart. He's been the only the real player so far that we have seen sort of dominating the field. So in comparison to what we saw on the previous console and PVC's titles, he has been a step apart from him. What do you attribute that to in comparison to what we've seen previously? What stood out for you for him as a player and as a driver?
Just consistency. You know, all of these guys are under some serious pressure, you know, regardless whether it's rallycross or rally stages, you know, whether it's against your competitors side by side, door mirror by door mirror, or you're against the clock, you know. A lot of these guys will, like we discussed, will have the heads-up display. They can see who's where on the track, and, you know, some people can crack under pressure and some people don't.
Got the confirmation of the points in, so just hearing from race control, basically. Zombie Slayer on 17, Oscaro Quinto is on 15, but Niklas Olsen is on 10, so it is all to play for, because if he wins this and Oscaro Q were to have a bit of a shocker, then he could see himself on enough points. But he is relying somewhat on Oscaro Quinto, but we've seen turn 1 at Hollier, so you've got the gravel trap on the outside. This is a tricky track to nail at the best of times and when you're under a lot of pressure, so it's not over yet. Zombie Slayer has booked a slot into the final here, which is absolutely fantastic. So whether or not they'll know that at home, of course, doing the maths as quickly as us, or if they've got a mate there trying to work it out, which I'm convinced, if I was doing this, I would have recruited someone to be there, because this is the stuff you need to know. He needs to know that, and likewise, Niklas needs to know that he's got to win this. He has to win this, but likewise, he needs someone else to have a bad result too. So it's not all in his hands.
Yeah, I think it's important that we're following, obviously, Niklas Olsen throughout this race. You know, he's going to be the player to watch. Get hold of that 2nd place. He's going to be one who's going to have to apply the pressure to the drivers in front of him. But It is all coming down to this final rallycross of the night. This is what we wanted. We've got our competitors. We've had our 2 finalists from the Xbox, our 2 finalists from the PC, and now we're waiting for our final finalists, even though Zombie Slayer has pretty much booked himself his ticket to that Speedmachine Festival Grand Final. One more spot is available. We're going into the last race. We couldn't have written it better. I mean, this is what we wanted, is it not?
I tell you what I want. I want to be, when I get to meet these guys in real life at Silverstone and they're doing this, you know, there's going to be a world championship in real life rallycross going on outside the window. You know, I know we've had other platforms and other games and things,
Yeah,
but this
true.
is happening at a round of the real world rallycross championship. The first ever world champion of Dirt 4 is going to be crowned alongside a real round of the World Rallycross Championship. That's just so exciting, and these guys are going to be there. I know from you know, how closely the championship works with the guys at Codemasters in this game. It's the official game of the FIA World Rallycross Championship. They're going to be in the mix. They're going to go and meet the drivers. You know, that's if you like your driving games, I hope they're going to be absolutely reveling in the opportunity to get fully stuck into the atmosphere at the fantastic sport in real life. So, going to get things underway at Hollius and figure out those final positions.
Here we go then. Final race of the semi-finals, gentlemen. We're going over to Sweden. As you say, it's still all to play for here. Gentlemen, take this one away because there is still one grand final spot up to grab. Zombie Slayer, he's already going to be joining us at Silverstone, but there's still that one spot to go. All to play for, gentlemen. Here we go.
Off the line, an absolutely brilliant start, but it is Niklas Olsson who's in P2. There are cars right behind him. Is he going to get punted off? And there is a danger of that. We've got a joker from the leader on the very first lap, and Niklas Olsson, who needs the win, has to look up the inside, a little bit of contact,
terrible,
spins around the outside, so there's a little bit of contact there, and Hoof, we lost, most importantly, has dropped right back. But Niklas Olsson is in the lead.
He's leaving it right now. What is the guy in the
I've got a feeling it's Quinto. I've got a feeling it's, I'm not sure, but it might be contact with Quinto at the merge. So this is, was it Jose that the contact was with? I can't remember. He's right at the back. Yeah, possibly is. So where's Quinto? Oscaro Quinto, we're looking for his livery, which is a blue and white livery. He'll be slightly further up the field. Perhaps we can join Oscaro Quinto to see where he is in this. Because for contact again. So
no way, Jose.
And he's going to hit the end of the arm curve. He's not careful there with that angle over the jump. There's contact out in front. Somebody over the curbs. And that may well be our man. Oscaro Quinto is just in front here, but out front is Niklas Olsson.
He's doing everything he needs to do.
It's all he can do.
That's all he can do. He can't affect everyone else's race. He's just got to go out there, get those 6 points. And I'm still questioning, why did Jose do the joker? On the first lap, clear out in the lead. I think that's a really silly move.
I think he was hoping. Look how close he came out on the merge. To be fair, he got that so nailed. He was so uncompromised on the way in. He very nearly jokered and took the lead, Luke. And in real life, it wouldn't quite be possible. But you know, he's obviously figured out some sort of a line to there, which sticks him out in front. See, the other thing that can happen in real life and in the game is that you have carnage on the inside because everyone's braking. Then somebody on the inside decides to go joker, then that punting everyone off. And in fact, you could come out of the joker in the lead. So, you know, it's an interesting tactic, but this man is the man you've got to watch.
We need to know where Quinto is at this point. Olsson has got the job done right now. He's the joker doesn't take too much time off of your lap times here, but where is Quinto in this race? You can see Jose's having a hell of a battle here at the back there. He's just been put into the wall. Who is that behind him there?
That's Ibiza Shooter. Ibiza Shooter has gone round if it's the green and blue livery. So we're still waiting on finding out whereabouts in front Oscaro Quinto is. Jose on a big push. You can't use too much curb here, it hooks the car around. Olsson continuing to lead, but how close are the guys behind him? Yeah, I can't ID Oscaro Quinto, I'm afraid. Here we are on board with him, and he's right up behind Olsson. So it is between these two guys, and Oscaro Quinto may well know that all he's got to do is follow him round. Who's joker? Do you know?
I don't think either of them have
Okay, so maybe not. But Quinto seems to have the measure here in terms of pace. Will he let himself go to the right now to joker and release himself? He decides not to. And of course, he doesn't have to because he knows he's only got to finish behind our man Olsson. And that's it. He won't be. He'll be stopping Olsson from qualifying. He will book his place through to the final Speedmachine. The Focus RS leading.
Such a great defensive
He is, yeah.
But that's all he can do right now. He definitely hasn't got the pace here on Quinto. It's going to be interesting. Quinto may have jokered. I'm not too sure here. And if he hasn't, that is going to be the key factor in this race.
Backs it in really nicely to the hairpin. Can get good traction. Try and get alongside here. Has the door shut in front. The big Ford Focus, which we've not seen in World Rallycross this year, but which is going to make a reappearance in America's Rallycross brand new championship, which is starting up soon. And we know we're going to see the Focus RS RX back in that, and he slings it into the right-hander and over the crest. Quinto, though's all over the back of him. He looks to the inside. He's going to try and go around the outside now and carry the speed, but shows you, doesn't it? If you position the car nicely, Luke, it's very hard to get past.
Oh, so yes, you know, in normal racing, you're only really putting the car in one forward motion. With these cars, you use the side of the car as defence. You go sideways. It's
Well,
brilliant.
that's what's lovely. We've said often, you know, in rallycross, there are lines that you could not take in a front-wheel drive car, but in rallycross, you can get it stuck in sideways. And Malcolm coming around to take the finish. Is that the
Yeah,
guys
that's the
at the finish? That's it done.
Olsen did win the race, but Quinto still came in second. We nearly had the dream situation for us here, but Quinto showed his class again. And Team Oscaro, 3 drivers moving forward.
Looking like 3 drivers. We'll still have to wait, of course,
I'll get
for
to
final
excited.
confirmation on the final result, but it is looking good at the moment for the Oscaro boys. Nicholas Olsen, as you say, he had a dream in front of him. Everything was carnage around him. He managed to just slide into first place and control that for the majority of the race and ended up obviously in first. A great battle between him and Quinto in second place.
He was the only one to take a forward focus as well.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe there's something in that. And one thing I wanted to point out, ask your guys' opinion on was obviously Quinto. He knew, hopefully he knew, obviously he'd done his math going into that race and he was in second place. Do you reckon he didn't seem to be taking it easy, did he, to be honest with you? He wanted that win.
It's pretty frantic for us here. You can see, you know, we've got scores. We're writing things down. We're trying to figure things out just as fast as you guys are at home. Bear in mind, they're at home. They're in the lobby. They're getting their entry ready. They're setting the car up. Unless they've got someone doing this for them, they're going to be in the same position we are, which is not quite sure. You've got to try your hardest because you don't really know whether or not you've got that slot booked, particularly, of course, until we hear from the adjudicators. But I've got points in front of me. I don't know whether or not they're official, so I'm going to wait on that. There we go.
We're going to wait on that.
We are going to wait
a word in the ear, which was wait. So as soon as we get as soon as we get official confirmation, we will of course bring it to you. But a fantastic race to finish things off here. It looks like we've we're just waiting for our final finalists here, but we're finally going to have those 6 drivers, the 6 best drivers in the world, all coming together at the Speedmachine Festival. It's going to be a hell of a day, isn't it? All of them are going to be racing against each other. We're finally going to be able to crown our first ever Dirt World Champion, and that's such a great thing.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers the second Dirt World Champion. It's all about the first one, isn't it? If you got the first one, you can hold that against anyone forever.
You can, because it is the first ever one. But yeah, I mean, yeah, hopefully this competition's going to go on to grow each year. You know, I'm sure it will become, as esports is growing massively, as you guys know way more than I do. I've become so much more aware of it this year, being at things like the Race of Champions, where we've seen guys like Brendan Lee, the Formula 1 world champion in the game, come and drive a real car in real life. And we touched on this briefly last time. If you missed it, you know, you can be amazing at FIFA 2018, but it doesn't mean you can kick a football in real life. Whereas here, you know, if you're very good at a driving game, particularly these ones which are so realistic, there is a chance that you're going to be good when you jump into the real car. You've got to take into account fear, and you've got to take into account a crowd and the smell of fuel and wearing a race suit and pulling gears. Like, you know, this is a hell of a prize. So I can't wait to see the 6 guys duke it out of Speedmachine.
Well, speaking of Speedmachine, let's have another quick look at the festival that the grand finals will be held with. This is going to be an awesome event. On the 26th of May is when the finals will take place. Let's have a quick look at Speedmachine. The Grand Finals is what is going to be at the Speedmachine Festival. As you can see there, 25th to the 27th of May, but the 26th is the date that we are going to be there for our Grand Final, gentlemen. Before we get into our final results, and we're obviously just waiting for the adjudicators to get that done. We don't want to get anything wrong. We want to make sure we get the right names, the right players. We don't want any disappointments for them. What has been your highlight so far of the quarterfinals and the semi-finals? There's been some intense racing, some intense competition. What's really stood out for you? Start with you, Andrew.
For me, it's actually that we came here. I was expecting maybe the competition to be really, really tough here and really close. But I say we haven't had confirmation on the final result yet. But, you know, in Xbox, it was 23 points to 60th yard and 18 to Kicked-In-Yo. It was 15 to the next guy. 22 and 21 to the 2 Oscaro drivers. It was 13 to the next guy. So we've actually seen, when we came here thinking, wow, she's going to be really close. Again, we've seen someone's gone up a step. They've taken it another level here. And who's going to take it another level at the final?
And what about you, Luke? What's been your standout, either performance or moment that you've had so far?
I've got 2. Obviously, I've mentioned it a few times. You getting all excited about the Soderbergh's move at Hell. That was incredible. And the general level on PC. The general level on PC has been exceptional. And we're waiting for confirmation on who's going to get through, obviously. But I believe that we have got the 6 best for the finals. So
Yeah.
that's what we wanted. You know, for us, that's going to be casting it and hosting that at Speedmachine. You know, we've got the very best, and that's all we can ask for.
Yeah, it's very true. And as a reminder, all of the 6 players who will be attending the grand finals will be on the same platform. So yes, we've had players come in from Xbox, from PC, from the PlayStation, but now they're all going to be on a level playing field, playing on those sims. And that's going to be a big challenge for some of these players as well. Obviously changing from, you know, maybe using a controller over to that sim. It's going to be a big challenge for them, and it might be something that brings out the best in them.
It could bring out the worst in them. You know,
So
you've got
I was trying to put a positive spin on it.
Well, yeah, but you see, you got to take it from the competition point of view, haven't you? Again, it takes them out of their lounge, it takes them out of their gaming room and their gaming chair, their comfortable place to be, and it puts them in front of a crowd in the middle of a day, you know, with noise outside, which is not in their control, and you know the excitement and the buzz of being at the final. But that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about the big day. You know, it's about the gold medal at the Olympics, isn't it? And this is about the World Championship at the World Championship, which is pretty cool.
And how do you feel it's going to affect them, Luke? Obviously, you know, all of these players playing on sim, not using that controller. It's a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I speak to a lot of esports guys within the racing community, and I was actually speaking to a friend this week, GTA Matty, his name is. That's not his real name, that's his gamer tag. But he was
You guys don't use real names.
No, we don't
do you?
use
Like,
real-
I'm like, who?
Well, we're going. We don't need real names. So he used a wicker chair, and it broke, and it cost him loads of time for ages and to adapt to a new like he got a proper play seat in the end. Oh, little plug there. But so he got a proper play seat, and it took him ages to adapt again. But you know, I saw him at a gaming event. He's still pretty quick. He's qualifying for finals. But these
goes
guys
to
won't
show
have
you.
a few months to practice on
No, they're getting some practice
Yeah.
sessions, and that's going to be
That's
it.
it.
So they're going to be in at the deep end. So yeah, mega competition for those who've made it.
Well, let's have a quick look at the replays from that last rallycross that we just have, just so we can give you something to give you a little bit of a flavour of what's going to be coming up in our grand finals as well, obviously at the Speedmachine Festival. Gentlemen, an incredible race, and it almost was the dream here for Nicholas Olsen.
It's interesting, isn't it? It was Jose, wasn't it, who almost got the lead there from the Joker on the first lap, and that would have been a pretty incredible performance. I think, unfortunately, then ended up getting a bit beaten up further down the field. Luke, if he'd pulled that off, you know, first corner Joker to the lead and then held that position, it would have been an absolutely epic result. As it goes, instead, you know, it was Olsen who managed to hold on out front.
Well, I would have answered the last question I was asked earlier about what was your favourite moment? That would have been my favourite moment.
Yeah.
That would have been well executed. To Joker on the first lap and come out in the lead, that's the dream, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If he could have done that, that would have been good. He was benefiting slightly from the melee that was happening on the inside of the standard lap. And again, yeah, there's particularly places where there's an early Joker. So Norway, Lydden Hill, Sweden is the corner 2. Because all the cars are so close together, there can be a bit of carnage going on. So if you've managed to Joker on that first lap, sometimes you can avoid it.
It's a really quick Joker as well. Like,
yeah,
there's a few really long ones where it's just not really an option.
Yeah, you know you'll come out in the pack, absolutely.
Yeah,
but
that
here,
one,
he might have got
nearly.
away with it, and unfortunately for him, he didn't. But great try.
And now we've talked about the highlights. Let's talk about some of the lowlights so far that we've seen. Any moments that sort of stuck out to you? I know that you've got a favourite. You've actually named one of the moments that we had in our first week.
Oh yeah, of course, the Nesta,
the Nesta,
G2
that was
Nesta. It's a well used move by many rally experts now. They're just, if you land on your roof, it's a Nesta.
That's very true. And what about you, Andrew? Anything that stuck out for you?
Maybe
Luke disappearing.
No.
I'm sorry, I have to do it every
was
time.
quite fun,
I have
to
to
be fair.
He said low light, so that would have been a good way to go. Yeah. That wasn't.
It was a terrible low light when we
Yeah.
lost Luke
Exactly.
at the first one when he
The
had to
bromance
go.
will continue.
And we were left on our own. No, it was. I think it's gutting, isn't it, for the guys? You can't help but feel for the guys who've tried really hard. They've made it, and then unfortunately didn't quite go far enough. I hope that they will try hard to come back in future years. You know, and put in the time that's clearly necessary. You've got to look at the guys who've gone through in dominant fashion how good they are. They're extremely good and they're extremely consistent. So yeah, turn that disappointment into a reason to practice and get yourselves back in next time.
That's very, very true. Now let's look ahead to our grand finals, obviously, as we move towards that Speedmachine Festival and the 6 players that we're going to have there. We're still waiting on the adjudication to be confirmed. As soon as we have it, we'll obviously let you guys at home know. Obviously, just have a quick talk about the Xbox, the PlayStation, and the PC users we've had. Any particular favourites that you're looking at? Obviously, for me, Unip's look very consistent, but any players jumping out for you?
Well, so Unip didn't look as strong as he did today in the quarterfinals. He's gone up another level. So I see that there's going to be scope for some of the other guys who may have just trundled their way through What a word. How have I managed to squeeze Trundled in?
Yeah, I didn't see anybody trundling, but I know what
There's
you
no
mean.
one trundling today.
but they, you know, a couple of these guys have not looked as convincing as the, you know, eventual winners of the semi-finals. But, you know, it shows that you don't necessarily have to, you know, you just get that top 2 position and then worry about it in the final, maybe progress to that next level with practice.
Good news for you, gentlemen. Good news for everyone at home. We have the final results here from the PlayStation 4, so we can finally confirm who your 2 final drivers will be going to the Speedmachine Grand Finals. It is Zombie Slayer, of course, and it is Oscaro Quinto. So the man that we expected to be there is there indeed. Oscaro with a fantastic day today as an organisation. 3 drivers going through representing them at the Grand Finals. Not what we didn't expect, gentlemen, but always good to get that confirmation, and we have our 6 finalists.
Interesting to see that the adjudication took so long. Good to know that the judges back there are really looking carefully at the driving standards. We want to see that the driving standards are high. They definitely are. You've called it already with Oscaro. 3 out of 6. That's 50% of the people in the final. You know, absolutely brilliant. Cannot wait, and it's not going to be long now. They better get practicing.
Luke, any final thoughts from you?
Well, what can you say? Team Oscaro. They could only get 3 into the final. Obviously, with PC, you can only have 2 out of the 3 go through. They've maximised their potential towards the final, but yeah, it's going to be incredible.
Here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. The grand final is set. We have our 6 drivers who are ready for the Speedmachine Festival coming up. It's going to be an absolutely awesome occasion. 26th of May is the time to be there. We will see you there.
There's a feeling building inside of me. I can't hide it. I need to let it be free. I don't know how you're gonna take to it, but if you understand just a little bit.